You want to know what's funny?
What?
He didn't jump into Robin's age.
No way, Brent. No way.
It's all a lie.
No.
He didn't jump into
I was
Robin's
reading
age.
it going, he's right. He's right. This whole paragraph is very vivid.
Yeah. They were supposed to. They had an aircraft problem. They got driven into Robin's age.
Tim Kennedy.
It's just the most weird thing to lie about. It's the most weird thing to lie about.
Hold on, we're not recording.
Want to buy a raffle?
Do you want to buy a shirt to support military vets?
People want to see their sausage get made.
An appropriate level of inappropriateness. Something happens to my family tonight. The Delta Force isn't coming to rescue my family and my kids. Like, it is first responders that are going to save my family.
They want the culture to be down. They want people to not want to be cops. And the people that do want to be cops are now walking into the job scared to do the job.
I'm going to try to act like it didn't happen, although we all know it did.
JV team for life.
Welcome back to the Anti-Hero Podcast, part Delta Force, part Street Cop, all truth. I'm Tyler, owner of Counterculture Inc. Go to countercultureincthreads.com. Save 15% when you use promo code Antihero and get the best in counterculture graphic tees, stickers, team rooms, flags, hats, Ranger panties, hoodies. We got everything. Countercultureincthreads.com. Use promo code Antihero. Save 15%.
And I'm Brent Tucker, owner of First Responder Cigar Company, Coffee Company, and now Cask Company, FRCC. Use the promo code FRCC15, that's FRCC15, to get 15% off the world's best coffee, cigars, and bourbon. Go to www.frcc.shop.
And of course, this episode is brought to you by Human Performance. Go to hp-trt.com, use promo code HERO, and save 20% not only off your initial purchase of testosterone, but every single month after that, you'll save 20% if you enter in promo code HERO. And if you've gotten your blood drawn within the last 6 months, you can go to hp-trt.com and upload that data. And they'll waive the lab costs. So hptrt.com, use promo code HERO, and save 20% on your testosterone.
And of course, don't forget about our Patreon. If you'd like to continue supporting us, Patreon is the way to do it. And we support you back with discounts through all of our sponsors, including behind the scenes footage. Also, the ability to DM us directly. Gun forums, fitness forums, journal forums, you name it. The Patreon is a great place to be. It literally keeps the lights on and the rent paid around here. And of course, Thursday Night Lives for the boys every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time until we decide to call it, till whenever. It goes longer and longer and gets better and better. So don't forget that.
Our Patreon knew about this episode before it dropped.
That's right. It's been a hot minute, and I think everyone's kind of been waiting on us to drop another episode. We've teased it. The reality is, I didn't really intend, or I shouldn't say intend. I should really say I didn't want to do another episode. In a perfect world, the first episode dropped 8 months ago at this point, roughly. It's about right. And it actually, it caught fire like in the veteran world, but we got a lot of pushback on that first Tim Kennedy episode. And we got a lot of, you're a hater. We got a lot of, how dare you tear down veterans?
Yeah.
And the veteran community themselves saw it, agreed with it, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know how bad it was. And it immediately had an effect to some degree. And I really thought Tim would have seen that, made an apology, corrected, and it'd be over. I mean, that was really, my intent and best case scenario and what I'd hoped for. But as we know, he made a really bad apology that he dropped on YouTube, and then he doubled down in it, oddly enough. And thank you to the veteran, podcasting community and the news communities that also picked up this story and continued running with it. And then what kept this thing alive was, to some degree, like SF meme pages just would not let it go. And they found out more things and more things and more things about the chapter of the book that we covered about the Afghanistan evacuation, the Bronze Star with Valor, the fake injuries, like all that. Now we had a small army of people kind of researching the corners of the internet on our behalf and came up with way more information than we ever could have. And eventually, to catch you guys up, of course, I don't think there's any need to catch anyone up at this point. He gets investigated by the Maryland National Guard. There's some sort of investigation going on with whether it be USASOC or SWCC, United States Army. And it forces him to come out and finally make another half-hearted apology where he at least admits that he doesn't have a Bronze Star with Valor, even though before that he said, I never said I had a Bronze Star with Valor. And it's been proven time and time again since then that he has had a Bronze Star with Valor, forces him to do another bad apology, how he accidentally may have mistakenly misrepresented his military career, but still doesn't really give an apology. But that apology, at least admitting that he did something wrong for the first time, sent the news organizations into a frenzy.
You think it was smart on his part? Well, I think he should have done for real. But that half-assed apology didn't do him any good.
I think he ended up getting almost the same amount of scrutiny on a half-assed apology as if he would have on a real apology. Because Yahoo, Business Insider, TMZ, you name every MMA and sports magazine basically ran with it and was like, Tim Kennedy admits to stolen valor. So if you're going to take that type of hit, go ahead and apologize and get it all over with. And then you wouldn't have to
rip that Band-Aid off, Tim.
Right. And if you'd have done it 8 months ago when we told him at the very end of the episode and said, hey, come clean, this will all be over, it'd be all, I think 8 months later, if he'd have done that, it'd all been over.
Yeah.
Like it's like people have a short memory, but he refused to do it.
He offered him multiple times to come on the show.
Not only did he refuse to do it, one of the real reasons that I decided to do another episode is because he pivoted. He pivoted outside the tactical community. After our episode, he was no longer welcome in the tactical world. All of his tactical sponsors dropped him. And so he moved over to the political world. So, and that I think was a very selfish move on his part. He is now latching on to people and to good people. Not everyone in DC is bad. There are some people in DC doing good things and trying. And now they don't know any better because they're not attached to the tactical world.
Mm-hmm.
And
doesn't seem like they're attached to any world or have anybody working for them that's attached to the real world.
I'm sure by now that they have an inkling of what's going on, and Tim selfishly attached himself to them for recognition and to kind of pull him out of this slump that he's in because he just won't take responsibility for it. He's just going to transition. And I think him transitioning to DC is one of the more dangerous things he can do. If he won't apologize fully and he won't fully come clean, I think we have enough people like that in DC. I don't think we need another person like that in DC. And so here we are doing another episode basically exposing why we cannot have people like that pivoting into politics or getting an appointed position with real power.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have people with real power that don't have integrity. Like we can't. And this isn't, I'll do my best to go this whole episode without name calling or doing anything unprofessional, just saying the facts. And that's not I don't believe that's a mean thing that I'm saying. It's just a fact of the matter.
Yeah. You have a right to elect and determine who represents you. That's the beauty. That's the beautiful thing about this country.
Yeah. But that's, and in some aspect, if he's going for an appointed position, which I've heard he has lobbied for that, an appointed position doesn't even get voted in.
That's true. That's true.
He
Good
can
point.
just use his relationships in DC to get into powerful places. And so here we go again with another episode that, like I said, the first one we only covered one chapter in the book is Afghanistan withdrawal. That was absolutely that's why we led with it. It was the most damaging. There's just a ton, but it wasn't all. And this episode, you'll see we're going to cover a lot more of the book, and cover a lot more topics. So we're going to cover his whole earlier career, going all the way back to the firefighter, EMT, cop, Q course, sniper school, his deployment to Iraq, and the Afghanistan evacuation. So we're going to cover a lot of ground. I tried my best not to pick any like nitpicky like topics to make sure that they were, because if we wanted to go with just lies that didn't happen, we'd be here all day. Yeah. So we have to decide, what's worth covering, and I think we've done a good job of it.
I think it's important to point out that it's not only is it the veteran community that was made, I don't want to say made a fool of by Tim, because they weren't, but it's also the first responder community. It's just in the book at a different part.
Right. Yeah. And it's part, I think people feel the same way I do, and that you do. It's part infuriating and it is part disappointing. Like, I have no ill will, towards the guy. This isn't personal, but I really hope this is the last episode, that we have to do. And, the momentum when all those stories finally came out, it's I don't need this. We don't need this, but a lot of people finally came back to us and are like, hey, we said some mean things about you. We thought you did it for the wrong reasons. Come to find out, everything you guys said was right, and we were wrong the whole time.
And it's an astounding amount of people.
And I'm not taking,
and the ones that didn't come to us, at least on their platforms, said, hey man, he's going to have to face this. I saw a lot of that, a lot of his connections that aren't necessarily going to come to us, but they did in a way distance themselves from defending him.
And I've taken some personal phone calls of people that defended Tim publicly that were his friends, and to apologize about that. Their personal phone calls, doesn't matter who they are. But at first I was a little upset, just to be upfront with you. 'Cause we proved it. Like, why are you still defending this guy?
Yeah.
It took me a little bit to realize, like, you know what? I'd probably do the same thing. If I knew a person for a long time and I only knew him in this light and this aspect, and he was only good to me and had no reason to think otherwise, there's a chance maybe I would blindly defend my friend, and them, they're human, and like anyone else, eventually, if it doesn't go away, it didn't go away for a reason. And if only more information got brought to light, it's probably worse than I thought. And they eventually were like, you know what? I don't think I can defend him blindly forever. Let me look into this. And they did. And I give them a lot of credit for it. And I appreciate that. And so here we go again. What is truly round 2 of this.
All right.
Let's, when I reread a few things and looked at a few things in a different light, there's one thing that actually stuck out to me about the book, and it's the very beginning of the book, and the dedication of the book. So let's read that.
This book is dedicated to the men and women we have lost in the 20 years war. In particular, I would like to dedicate it to the 660 special operations personnel we lost, and the last 13 U.S. military personnel we lost at the Hamid Karzai International Airport on 26 August 2021. I will spend the rest of my days trying to be worthy of your sacrifice.
And as I was, before this episode, thumbing through the book, I think that's the first time I read the dedication, actually. And it jumped out to me. He said he purposely said, like, I'm going to spend the rest of my life, like, dedicating, read the words again, the very end.
I will spend the rest of my days trying to be worthy of your sacrifice.
The book wasn't published yet. Like, you can see like that, like whether it's ingenuous or what, like he really wants to be. Like, you could have started by rewriting the book at that point and not writing a book if that you're going to dedicate your life to being worthy of those type of people, and then page after page after page behind that type of dedication to be an embellishment or a complete lie. And I think that's wildly inappropriate. I think it's wildly ironic. And I think if I were to ask Tim, like, hey, what do you think about people that lie for money and fame? I'd be interested to hear his answer, but Joe Rogan actually beat me to the question. Let's see what Tim's answer was when Joe asked him this question.
When you find out that someone's lying about the motivation for profit, and that
there's nothing worse than somebody that lies for the benefit of themselves. But when you're lying so that you can put money in your pocket at the expense of human life, I hope you burn in hell forever.
It's a dark lie.
Whoa, it's foreshadowing.
Whoa, Tim,
career.
Don't be so hard on yourself. I love the honesty, and I you know what? I bet he feels that way. Except he hasn't seen it through the lens of Tim. That interview was 11 years ago, and that's exactly what you did ever since that interview. And guess what? I absolutely mean this. I won't take your own stance on this. I don't think you should burn in hell over it. Your words, not mine. We'll pick up where we left off on our first episode, which it absolutely could be a redemption story. No one has to burn in hell. No one has to burn in hell. It can be a redemption story. So let's get into it. I picked I'm always a fan of going chronological. I didn't want to go from least offense to worst offense. I just always like going chronological. There were several things before this I could have picked out, but in the sake of being nitpicky, I didn't. And even although this one, we're not going to start out with the most damaging one, so don't worry. Hang on, there's more. I think it sets the pace because it's early on in his life and it's first responder associated, and he talks a lot about first responders, and he's a proud former first responder, but no one really knows what he did as a first responder. So I thought us as a first responder related podcast, you were a first responder. My whole brand supports first responders. Well, let's see what Tim did as a first responder. His first job was an EMT, and in October 22nd, 1999, he responds to a truly horrible car crash. I looked it up, and I was like, well, if this happened, 14 passengers were in this van, 7 of them died. I was like, this would have made the news, and it sure did. This absolutely happened. And Tim responded to it, and as a 19-year-old kid, it's tough. Like, it is.
That's enough of a story right there.
Isn't that the the reoccurring theme here? Like, it was enough of the story that really one of the worst car accidents that probably happened in the area for decades. You responded to. Yeah. The only thing you had to do was tell the story right. But so that's the backdrop of the story. Again, it was the van was a church van, kind of middle of the night. It runs off the road really for no real reason that I could find out. Maybe someone fell asleep at the wheel. It turns over. It's on its side, and they're responding to it. So let's pick it up in his book of him responding to this car accident.
I just turned 19 years old, and while I've been on a few calls already, nothing up to this point would prepare me for what I'm about to see. As I step off the truck and my boots hit the ground, I can already taste the dust. Continuing the horror movie motif, the things that immediately catch my eyes are the hymnals being gently blown toward me across the ground. I can smell the burning fuel of the vehicle interlaced with dust. I also smell the burning weeds near the van and the acrid smell of blood, urine, and feces. I now hear the wailing of people in pain, seemingly coming from everywhere. I realize quickly several people have been thrown from the vehicle. The wails are not screams. When people are screaming, they have their faculties, and are generally aware of acute pain and injury. Wails are worse. They come from a deeper place inside a person that they happen when one's body is so broken it cannot muster a scream or even a full breath. And those wails and moans flood my senses, freezing me where I stand. Again, I was just 19. I hear Tom finishing up on the radio. Send everyone, he says. The radio operator understands and confirms. Tom places the radio back in its proper place and hops out of the truck and, as he strides past me, says, pick one. That's something my teenage brain can't understand. I move toward the wail that sounds closest. Tom moves elsewhere. Anthony and Star have already disappeared in the night. As I sprint into the dust storm, I suddenly realize it is a miracle we did not hit any of the bodies driving in.
Well, I'll let you know, as bad as this scene is, and the scene is bad, we'll find out here in a second. It's not a miracle that they didn't run into bodies on the way in, and I'll explain that here in a second. There's a very good reason why you didn't run into bodies on the way in.
JV team for life.
Tyler, how many critical incidents do you think we've covered so far in this podcast?
Man, at least 5, 6.
And they're not going to stop. You know, you cannot stop them all, so they're going to happen. And you really have, two charters at that. Obviously, one is to stop them from happening. But since you can't stop them all from happening, you owe it to the people that you protect and depend on you to react to those situations in the most effective and efficient manner. And right now, really, whether you're a fire department, EMS, law enforcement, you're stuck with essentially radios.
And Apollo is the best way to manage resources during these events because it's designed by first responders for first responders.
It gives first responders a common operating picture, which allows them to see where everybody is in real time, overlaid onto a map to see where they are. You can drop pinpoints and let them know where they need to go. And without constant talking on the radio, everybody knows where the incident is, where it's happening, and where they need to be.
And Apollo's an app-based application. It's just download and go.
It's an app, so it works with Androids, it works with iPhones.
And Apollo makes sure on the back end everything works, and you can just plug and go. They handle all the licensing, all the encryption, compliance, all the security. It's all handled by Apollo. It's crucial to know where everyone is and what they are doing in order to effectively control chaos in one of these either natural disasters or shootings or anything like that.
So if you want to learn more about Apollo, scan the QR code and ensure your department is ready to react to any crisis in its most effective and efficient manner possible.
Ooh, the boys over at GhostBed did it again. They lowered everything on their website more than half the cost. Now you're going to get even more savings because they took each item, they lowered it more than half, and then they're still giving Anti-Hero 10% off. So it used to be 50% off, and then they were like, hey, we're just going to cut our prices down. So now when you go on the website, Anti-Hero, promo code Anti-Hero will give you 10% off ridiculously reduced prices at ghostbed.com. So go to ghostbed.com/Anti-Hero and get 10% off the extremely reduced prices. These guys are awesome. These guys have been they were our first sponsor. I talk with them all the time. They're big supporters in what we do, what we stand for, just like all the other podcasts that they help out and they support. If you got to replace a mattress in the house, if you got to buy new sheets, if you got to buy a new pillow, go with GhostBed because you're going to save money and they help us out so much. They're part of the Anti-Hero family, just like me and just like you are. Ghostbed.com/Anti-Hero or use promo code Anti-Hero at checkout and get 10% off your order. As you guys know, we drink way too many energy drinks on the Anti-Hero podcast. That's why we partnered with Tasty Gains. In this one container of 30 gummies is over 100 cans of pre-workout. This is our new replacement for energy drinks. It's a lot more convenient. Obviously, energy drinks you have to keep cold. They taste like shit warm. I keep these in my gym bag and in my my duffel at work with all my meals in it. And it's just, I mean, it's bright colors. You see it, you take it right before your workout. It's perfect. These things taste like candy, so be careful. Listen, guys, we wouldn't be suggesting things that we don't recommend and take ourselves, like the creatine gummies. No one really knows how creatine works. It's the most confusing thing in the world, but yet it's the safest supplement to take and the most effective supplement. Creatine helps your endurance levels, and it helps dramatically with recovery. Creatine, though, is powdery and tastes like shit and is really annoying to when you're loading it and have to do all this stuff and mix it in your water. And then, of course, if your water is not warm, then it doesn't mix well. These things are the definition of convenience. Right there, bright colors. Put them in your gym bag. Put them in your lunchbox. Creatine gummies. This one's blue raspberry. I prefer my favorite's the strawberry creamsicle. These are a no-brainer. Tasty Gains is a no-brainer. Pre-workout and creatine, the things you need to lift and get big. Go to tastygains.com. Use promo code ANTIHERO and get 20% off your order.
JV team for life.
Bodies are everywhere. Blood is everywhere. Bibles lay strewn across the ground. Hymnals and evangelical pamphlets flow across the fallen ground. Across the fallen and into the night beyond my vision. One man is wandering the scene in shock. Anthony tends to him. I arrive at the first body splayed across the road. He is a mess. His entire body is covered in so much blood I can't make out all the wounds. And I start running through my memorized checklist for trauma assessment and begin to administer care. I'm working on the body for maybe 2 minutes and I feel someone hovering over me. I look back over my shoulder just as Tom grabs it. Hey, Tim, let's go find someone else, okay? I cannot comprehend what he's saying. I keep working. I have to save this one. He squeezes my shoulder again. I need you to find someone else. This time I get up and wander into the night, confused. I look back and see that Tom has left that person as well. It didn't make sense. I have watched too many television shows where things always work out the way they should. Tom knew that. Tom knew what I didn't know yet. There was no way we could bring that guy back, and there were a lot more victims that needed us. Then something snaps me out of that thought. I hear a sound that is different from the rest. It isn't a wail. It's crying, but not high-pitched crying. It's the kind of guttural, hiccuping crying that every parent knows. It probably started as a high-pitched scream, but has faded as the lungs have gotten weaker and weaker. Oh my God, that's a kid. I run to the sound, but the rule is that you have to care for people as you find them. And as I begin to move in that direction, I come upon a dozen more bodies scattered across the pavement and in the grass and in the median. This is my first mass casualty event, and I freeze again.
Something that's just a little unusual about the numbers. 14 people were in the van. Although it's a classic case of don't worry. Even though I'm dissecting this, we're not dissecting reality here. But let's live in Tim's pretendo world for a second. He said he just basically walked by a dozen bodies. There's only there's 14 people in this van, and Tim, you walked by 12 out of 14. That's insane. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for you to walk by 12 bodies, that means there's 40 around here, but you wouldn't walk by 12 bodies when there's only 14 on scene.
Yeah,
you'd be working on bodies.
And when bodies are, I mean, it's these are small details, but if you've ever worked a crash like this, there absolutely was 14 bodies out there, but they're not in a 20-foot radius. They're all over the place. You really can't walk a scene and from one point to another really and see 12 out of 14 because the violent way that they're thrown from the car, they go far.
Yeah, and it's small, but like these are things that I start listening to the story, and it just makes me want to reach out to people and find out more. Just give me a little bit of things that jump out to me and why I decide to make the calls that I make.
Between the sights of the wounded and the dead near me, the cries piercing the night, and my desire to find this kid at all costs, I've lost the ability to process all the information. All of these people are depending on us, and I am overwhelmed. I don't know enough. I can't partition my brain and do a real assessment. I am in lizard brain, react to the stimulus mode. Thank God for Tom. Tom sprints around the scene, quickly triaging victims and telling Star, Anthony, and me exactly what we need to do for each one and in which order. Up until this point in my life, I thought I understood excellence. Tom showed me I did not. Not blood, not screams, not the ticking clock reminding us that lives are hanging in the balance. Blur Tom's vision of what needs to be done. He is unrelenting. He also knows the skill levels of his team. He knows who can handle what. He knows I am a total newbie and to expect me to save the hardest cases. He knows I am a total newbie and to expect me to save the hardest cases is a bridge too far. The calculus this man is processing by the second in order to maximize the number of lives saved is astounding. I want to be like Tom, but I don't have anything that he has because I haven't earned it. I don't have the reps. I don't have the training. I have not sacrificed the time and effort necessary to make what he possesses mine, and I already hate that. That statement alone right there should tell you a lot about Tim Kennedy. He's frustrated in the fact that he can't be like Tom, who has put in the time to perfect his craft. Satisfied that he has this situation under reasonable control, Tom gives me a task up to my skill level as an EMT. Tim, go find the kid, he quickly commands. He doesn't need to say it twice. I run off in the direction of the crying. After what seems like a lifetime, but it's probably 1 or 2 minutes, I literally stumble on her. She's beautiful, maybe 4 or 5 years old, a tiny little thing. So perfect, but so very broken. I take a sharp breath. It's going to be okay, I tell her, trying to convince both of us that it was true. It needs to be okay. My initial assessment is grim. She has a broken pelvis, 4 broken limbs, probably multiple ruptured organs, and massive hemorrhaging. She is going to die. She's here, I yell, but I realize Tom Way is already here. Find someone else. I've got her, he says. Fear grips me. He said basically the same thing when he left the first guy I found. I take a couple steps away and look back. He isn't leaving. He's working on her. Thank God Tom thinks she still has a chance. The next patient I move to is a woman. Her leg looks like we gave a toddler a Gumby toy and let him just bend the craziest way possible. Her leg is literally an S. Her arm is backwards. Smell dominates the moment. California has beautiful smells and soils. That's that fluff. It always smells fresh. I can pick up California dirt blindfolded and know it. The smell of that soil mixed with gas, bile, blood, and urine and feces is another scar I carry that will never heal. 20 years later, all I have to do is think about this day, and the smell fills my mind again with a vengeance. Even if I am halfway around the world, it's forever part of me. We still can't see. We're using sound and feel to find the injured. Anthony runs back to the truck and shuts it off so we can at least hear better. The night becomes a blur.
And I'll hate to interrupt you.
Oh, yeah.
But something just hit me. I'd like to use your intimate background as a first responder who's showed up to car crashes. Do you normally find victims by feel and sound, or do you have what's those new inventions? Not
I thought this was written before flashlights came out. Maybe the story took place before, at least.
Flashlights. That's what I was thinking of. Why wouldn't you use your flashlight?
Every first responder has a flashlight. Firefighters have them on their bunkhouse gear. You can always see it hanging. Even if you're a day shift cop, you might have to go into a structure that's completely black. You never go anywhere without a light. I've never done anything in my military or law enforcement career without a flashlight. I think what he's doing is he's taking lingo and things from the fire world, like a structure fire, where you really are using feel and you're using all these other senses besides sight. And I think he's just trying to put that in there.
I know, again, it may sound like we're being a little nitpicky right now about little things, but don't worry. I'll tell you why all these things are important.
The night becomes a blur, challenging the boundary of every skill I possess. I plug holes, I apply tourniquets, I brace broken limbs. I put people on stretchers and apply neck braces. It's 4 guys trying to save 14 lives.
So the initial 4 guys, which he's a part of, are trying to save everyone. Make a note of that. Keep going.
An ambulance arrives. Now there's 7 of us. A second fire truck arrives, and with it comes a godsend, Captain Keith Agson. He's 6'4" and 300 pounds with a booming voice. And as soon as he is on the ground, everything gets better.
Well, everything did get better when Keith Agson got on the ground. That part is true because I talked to Keith. And everything got better when Keith got on the ground because he was the first one on the ground.
Imagine that.
He was the very first one on scene. And when I asked about, Tim being first on scene and talking about, like, think about it for a second. And so I said, so Tim wasn't first on scene. I was like, well, how do you know? And that's when he's like, well, I know who was first on scene. I said, well, how do you know? He goes, because I was first on scene. So think about trying to use my words without, I don't want to be unprofessional, but think about the level, insert whatever word you want to use here, the level of narcissism, derangement. I don't know the word I want to use.
It's derangement. It's the details. Those
To
grim,
give
gory
details about being the first on scene, the dust, the wailing of people, describing it to a very, very minute detail that you would think the only one who could know these things would be the first people on scene. Wheels of the tires slowly turning. Like it's
well, he says, I mean, again, everybody's been on, first responders go to tens of thousands of different calls probably in their career. Probably not that much, but a lot. And we all go to different types of call. Not every call is the same. But I've never been to a mass casualty event or a car accident or any type of situation where people are dead and recognize the smell of urine and fecal matter. It's never happened to me. I've never heard anybody. I think you're in such go mode that you don't stop and smell the roses. That's not something you do.
And so it goes into great, great detail about being first on scene, only to find out that you couldn't be searching for people in the dark like you're first on scene, and maybe you didn't have a flashlight, because all that isn't true. You weren't first on scene. And to not give the appropriate credit to the people that were first on scene is a really jerk move. To be honest, like the people who show up first and set up the cordon and set up the triage, and they're like, hey, we have to find out how to fix this while it's at its worst, which is the no information, no step-by-step of sorts. Like when you arrive after that, things are already starting to flesh out, and you just kind of plug yourself where you're needed. So instead of giving the first responders who responded first credit, he makes up this story that he was first on scene and had to go by body to body to body. And Tom has to go, don't work on this person, go somewhere else. I talked to Tom. I said, Tom, do you remember this? Tom said, I'll never forget it. It was a horrible scene. And I hate that Tim had to deal with that. Like the story was good enough. That was a horrible, horrible thing that young man had to deal with. But why didn't you give credit to where credit was due, and don't act like you had to go from body to body to body, and Tom had to tell you, not this one, not this one. Tom was like, no, by the time we got there were already people there. Yes, there were 14 people, and there was still help needed, but I plugged into the first person I saw. He goes, Tom says, if I remember correctly, he goes, it was a while ago. He goes, Tim and another guy plugged in on one girl that needed help, and they worked on that girl, put her in on the ambulance, and she survived. So tell that story, Tim. Tell the story that's a great story. That's a great story. But this massive, great detailed first on scene, having to decide who to work on and who not, just isn't true. And that's from the people on the scene. You weren't first on scene, and all these egregious details just aren't true. Now, if he had told the truth, again, I bet there were still some details that weren't very pretty, but you didn't. So I can't even give you credit for what you did. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I want to, but that's not what you said happened.
I mean, and these details are so important because, I mean, even something as silly as calling the chief 300 pounds.
Oh, so
completely unnecessary.
So that was a conversation we had before this. Oddly enough, he was more upset, not that his first on scene, moniker was taken from him. He was super upset. He goes, Brent, I'm 6'4", but let me tell you, I've never been 300 pounds in my life. I'm no fat ass. He's like, that guy called me 300 pounds. Like he's super upset at Tim. And so, he's like, and I didn't read the book. I just read that, that excerpt. And that was enough. I didn't want to read anymore.
It's all a lie.
But talk about another unnecessary lie to give people motivation.
The most unnecessary lie.
The most unnecessary lie.
Like, and he was fat.
Hey, there's some bad lies in this book. That might be top 5 most unnecessary lies.
That or
to call that dude fat.
The ACUs being the best uniform.
that goes in the list as well. So he goes from being an EMT, and this story is both. It's first because it's chronological, but we could have went with another story chronologically. But to me, it just starts out how bad the embellishment and how far back it goes. I mean, in fact, I could go further back in the book with other embellishments, but it was nitpicky and super short. So we'll start there. Because that embellishment also kind of meets the threshold, to me, it's just, I still can't believe that he didn't give credit where credit was due, and that he embellished his whole first on scene, bypassing dead bodies. It's crazy. And again, reoccurring thing was where, and it upsets me because the truth was good enough. So he goes from being an EMT, he goes to firefighter school, gets a certification as a firefighter, and he gets fired, and he's open about this in the book. He talks about being fired as a firefighter. So let's go through his firefighter career. And as he mentions the guy, he says, I won't name his name. His name's Mike McCain. I talked to Mike as well, and said this guy is the guy who fired me, is what he says in the book. But he won't name his name because he thinks so little of this guy.
Or that people might reach out and get the true story.
Yeah. Well, apparently has no problem naming real names. He does it throughout the book. I guess he just doesn't want to make him famous. I guess he really did not like this guy. But here are the 3 reasons that will save you. You don't have to read the book. Don't worry. We're here for you. Here are the 3 reasons Tim Kennedy was fired from being a firefighter. And his 3 strikes you're out policy that he said Mike McCain had. Yeah. Here's strike 1 that started the ball rolling of his short firefighter career.
All right, yeah. So Tim,
this is the man with a knife incident. We'll call it. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm just getting back to my apartment after a workout at the pit when my pager goes off. I'm off duty, but I look anyway. It's a medical call for a potential suicide victim. I see the address. It's right next door. Given that the incident is happening inside my apartment complex, I walk over to see if there's anyone that needs help. As I walk up, I see the fire truck parked out front. I wave. Some firefighters are setting up a staging area to provide any aid once the police have give the all clear. They're going about their business, oblivious to the apparent danger that is happening inside the building. Right after I see them, I see a police officer. She is the first officer on scene, and she is tiny. I identify myself and ask if there's anything I can do to help. She explains there is a man inside who may be armed with a knife, threatening to kill himself. As the only officer present, she is going to go in alone. I look at her again, 110 pounds soaking wet. I look at myself, 220 pounds, riddled with muscle. Trained in MMA, jiu-jitsu, stick fighting and knife fighting, and sword fighting, I was literally just sparring with Chuck Liddell. This is a no-brainer. It is dumb for a 110-pound woman to walk into the house alone. Frankly, it would have been dumb for me to walk into the house alone, or anyone. No one should ever walk into a dynamic and dangerous situation without backup. One of the things my dad always hit home with us is that you never know what can happen, and when it happens faster and more violently than you expect. Hey, do you want me to go in with you until the other cops show up, I ask. I see her bathed in relief. The second I suggest it, if you don't mind, that would be amazing, she replies. Of course. I know you'd do the same for me, I say in my best team player voice. We walk to the door of the apartment and knock. Go away, comes from the man's voice inside. The officer reaches for the door handle and is open. Sir, we're coming in, she shouts. As we enter the room, we see a thin, average-sized man with brown hair. He is holding a knife and is clearly under duress. How's it going, sir? She asks. Hey, man, I'm Tim, I chime in. He looks back and forth to both of us. I don't need you here. You need to leave me alone. He says this, but he says it without the gusto of a man truly committed to what he's saying. In my expert opinion, experts in quotation marks in his book, he doesn't want to kill himself. He's just having a bad day. While the officer uses her soothing feminine voice to calm him down, I slowly close the distance. She does a phenomenal job, and in no time, he isn't even looking at me. I pick my moment and lunge forward, grabbing his wrist. The second I make contact, he drops the knife. He absolutely does not want to hurt me. When I am sure of this, I slowly walk him to the police officer who gently cuffs him. It's going to be okay, man, I assure him, and with that, we begin to leave. What a day, and to think I almost didn't respond to this. As we exit the door and hand the man over to the police, who have now arrived on scene, I notice my fire chief is now here. In fact, there is a crowd of firefighters and police officers present. I see him walking over to me. I expect he's going to pat me on the back for a job well done. Why the fuck is one of my firefighters walking out of a building with someone in handcuffs, he barks. I quickly begin to explain the situation to him, and I'm cut off. I could smell the alcohol on his breath. Do you think I give a fuck? Firefighters do not detain people. We do not wrestle knives away. That is not our fucking job. If you want to be a cop so badly, you should go to the fucking police academy and be a fucking cop. Yes, dickhead, I know. I plan to go to the police academy the second I turn 21, you piece of shit. Dressed him down, huh?
So, yeah, we've heard stories of Tim dressing down his superiors before, Travis Warlock, and that ended up not being the case.
Turned out not to be
right,
true.
Apparently, he's been doing it or fake doing it his whole life. I go over this because I want to say like the things that stand out to me and require me to like some things don't sound right about this story, and makes me want to reach out and verify things. Again, this is just opinion based. Like these are just like the red flags, and it's the firefighters show up first. Generally speaking, what's the joke? What are firefighters called? They called first responders?
No, and we bust their balls, but it's really because the cops are already out. That's why they're always on scene first.
Right. They're already on patrol.
Yeah.
They're already out. They're not at a stagnant station that they have to get ready, have to load up a truck, have to get out there. So if the firefighters show up first, and then this one female shows up first. Yeah, that's odd to me. Not the least of the oddness about this being that only in Tim Kennedy's life does an armed man show up, basically that in need of help, next door to him in his own apartment complex. What are the chances?
Convenient.
When you're Tim Kennedy, when you're Tim Kennedy, who lives with danger his whole life, well, according to his book, it's just another day of being Tim.
This story, although this probably takes place over 20 years ago. So this female officer is probably retired by now. So I can't really give my opinion on how a suicidal person would be helped today because it's nothing like this. That being said, police work was a little bit more cowboy back then, so I can't discredit the story. However, I can say that it's very fortunate for Tim's story that he's able to be the knight in shining armor for this little petite woman. You know, it's just kind of like, even if it happened and they were like, you know, his co-writer's like, so what about this guy, this cop? Actually, change it to a female. Change it to a female. Maybe you look better.
Well, or how about this? When they get the guy and he's escorting him out, I don't know why the cop isn't escorting him out, regardless. Yeah. That he shows up to a crowd of cops and firefighters outside. So you're telling me that female cop gets on scene first, and the rest of the cops that show up on scene just wait like a welcoming parade to Tim Kennedy. Makes no sense.
No,
if there's a crowd of cops out there, that means there would have been a crowd of cops in the room with they'd have went to the room.
If you would know that there's a cop alone in a room with somebody with a knife, you're not just walking up there, you're running up there and you're pushing. And obviously, we know firefighters do wait for the scene to be cleared for multiple reasons. One of them is safety. Law enforcement's a lot more trained professionally in their job to disarm or use force against people, right? But there's also a liability. If you're a firefighter, the only way you can put hands on somebody is if anybody in the world could do it. You're not allowed to go detain people. You're not allowed to put your hands on people unless it's the same reason why Joe Schmo on the side of the road can do it. If it's at the public's, for public safety reasons, you just walking down the road can put your hands on somebody because you could justify, I had to put my hands on him, he's going to hurt people or himself. But they're not like legally allowed to do some of the things that cops are allowed to do because they're sworn law enforcement.
And although everything we're talking about right now is opinion based, and it's this doesn't make sense, this doesn't make sense, we're telling you all this because these are the reasons I decided to drill down on this. Like, this is what's making me question this story. And so when I talked to Mike McCain, who fired Tim, who it's his 3-strike policy, I said, this was strike one. This was the reason. This is one of the reasons you fired him. Do you remember this story? And he says, no, never heard this story in my life. Don't remember it. He goes, I'd remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd remember that. He's like, to my knowledge, it never happened. And so I said, okay, to strike two we go.
Yeah, so it kind of this part of the book just runs right into a scene, almost like a lot of the introduction of it was cut. But he's at it looks like, again, another traffic crash that it's now off a ravine.
Yep.
The victim in the car. I look over the edge of the smashed car. It's beat to fuck. We were first on the scene, but the second engine has since arrived, and the 5 other firefighters are all exited, breaking out all kinds of ropes and pulleys and shit to do a technical rappel into the ravine to safely get the driver out. The ledge isn't that steep, and what they are doing seems dumb and a waste of time. I climb shit like this all the time by myself. Hell, I climbed shit like this all the time when I was 10 years old. It's only a few months after I get yelled at for the first time of violating the rules, so there is a voice in the back of my head warning me that I should just wait for the guys. The voice gets interrupted. I hear crying down below. I look at them. They're busy laying shit out on the road and arguing the merits of different anchor points. They're discussing who will rappel down and in what order. While they're doing that, I walk around the vehicle, grab a Halligan tool, and start climbing down the ravine. It took me less than a minute to scale down the 40 feet. When I get to the bottom, I see that there is a middle-aged woman inside. I can tell she has a broken femur and she is bleeding profusely from the leg. There's no time to wait for the other guys. The door is busted in, so I use a Halligan to pop it open and use my gorilla strength to rip it out the rest of the way. Mind you, he is dead serious when he gives himself. I undo her seatbelt and pull her out of the vehicle, laying her on a ledge a little away from the car. I immediately apply pressure to the wound to slow the bleeding. Luckily, she reacts well to the pressure, and there is only a trickling coming out from either side of my hands. I look up. They're all setting up their contraption. She 100% would have bled out if I hadn't come down. We're going to need a splint and a tourniquet, I yell up. They look down. They see me. At this distance, I can't see their glares, but I can definitely feel them. A few minutes later, they rappelled down what can only be described as part of a child's playground. One would think they were scaling K2. I kind of chuckled to myself because it all seems so ridiculous watching them. 3 of them arrive with a stretcher, a tourniquet, and a splint. In no time, they do their thing, and she is strapped to the stretcher and ready to head back to the top using a winch and intricate system of pulleys. Props to the team because as humorous as it was watching them climb down, they did a good job setting this up. I grab the bottom of the stretcher and climb up as the guys who are strapped into the lines grab the top and either side. Up is obviously a little harder than down, but in 3 minutes, we're back on the road and the patient is safe. The ambulance is already here, and as soon as the patient is disconnected from our line, the paramedics take it. In less than a minute, she is safely in the back of the ambulance as it pulls away to take her to the hospital. Great job, guys, I say with a smile on my face. They aren't super smiling in return. I ruined their dopey, ropey game of fun, and they are mad at me.
Those stupid veteran firefighters.
Why would they do that? Who gives a fuck? If I hadn't gone down there, she would be dead. We returned to the station. The fire chief is waiting for me. He is not pleased. Did you go down a fucking ravine without safety equipment? He bellows. Well, I wouldn't call it a ravine, more like a tiny hill, but yes, I climbed down myself, I replied. Did someone tell you to do that, Kennedy? He asked, knowing the answer. No, but she would have bled out if I hadn't gone down there. The ropes were taking forever, I fire back. And what if you had slipped and fell and broken your own fucking leg? Then you'd be a fucking bleeding out and you would have been a fucking liability to the team. Then what? He asks. I know he's not expecting an answer, but clearly I needed to respond to provide context. First of all, I'm not drunk or fat, so I wouldn't fall down. Second, everyone is just mad because they didn't get to save the day using their fancy ropes. How is he going to come back from that one? I was written up a second time.
So there's a theme here now, right? He gets written up the first time. Why does he get written up the first time?
He's a hero.
Because he's too aggressive and he's a hero. He's too good. Like he's too much for other people to accept. So here we go again. Strike two. He's too good. He's too aggressive. He knows too much. Again, we're going to go through a bunch of opinion-based things based on what he wrote, but don't worry. If you think we're being nitpicky about the story, wait, there's a reason why none of this kind of matters. So he's the most junior guy there. If the senior guys are setting up equipment, you don't think those firefighters know if they can go down and save a life or not? Like they're just scared to go down and save a life that needs saving right now. And this is what he doesn't, I think, understand. When he's building up these stories about himself, he's putting other people down. That's what he's doing.
He's calling them cowards without directly calling them cowards.
He's calling them cowards. If these guys decided to set up ropes, it's because they needed ropes. And you kind of can't have it both ways in your story. You can't call it a child's playground and call it like rolling hills, but then say like you scaled the cliff.
Yeah.
Well, which one is it? Are you scaling a cliff or is it rolling hills? And if it's rolling hills, you don't think those firefighters would have just walked down there with you? It's crazy. And to think that these firefighters would be mad. Let's play in this in Pretendo world again. You think these firefighters would be mad that you ended up being right and that you saved someone's life and that they're like, how dare you save someone's life? We were wrong and you saved someone's life. That you're going to get written up over that? And then once again, there he is dressing him down as fat and drunk. How long do you think he'd have been? You think there'd have been a strike three if he'd have called his fire chief drunk and fat? No. The same way he never said anything to Travis. He didn't say anything to this guy. How do I know? Because I talked to him and I asked him about this and he said the same thing. He goes, oh, I'd have remembered that. Yeah. He never talked to me like that. Nor would he, that's where I got the, you wouldn't,
it wouldn't even be a strike three.
That's where I got the, you wouldn't need a strike three quote from. He goes, I don't remember anything like that. Because I don't remember, like, I would like, that's a pretty significant, he goes, thing for our station to react to. Like, I would remember that. He goes, I don't remember, I don't recall it at all. And I said, okay. And so I said, but wait, there's more. Hopefully we can go 1 for 3 here. Let's see if we can remember strike 3.
So strike 3 is a structure fire, which, is, I'm not even kidding, is every firefighter's like bread and butter. This is their favorite call.
JV team for life.
What if you could delay your next 2 mortgage payments? That's right. Imagine putting those 2 payments in your pocket and finally getting a little breathing room. It's possible when you call American Financing today. If you're feeling stretched by everyday expenses, groceries, gas, bills piling up, you're not alone. We've all been there. Most Americans are putting these expenses on credit cards, and there doesn't seem to be a way out. American Financing can show you how to use your home's equity to pay off that debt. You need to call American Financing today before you get to a point where you can't make those payments. Their salary-based mortgage consultants are helping homeowners just like you restructure their loans and consolidate debt, all without upfront fees. And their customers are saving an average of $800 a month. That's like a $10,000 raise. It's fast, it's simple, and it could save your budget this summer. Call now before it's too late. 866-889-8121. That's 866-889-8121. Or visit americanfinancing.net/antihero.
What's up, guys? So we teamed up with GoGo Panels, the best in the game when it comes to setting up your vendor booth. I was here last year, exactly a year ago, and I saw one of the vendors had a booth like this, and I was like, I have to see what they got. I went and looked at the thing, and it said GoGo Panels. I went and checked it out. Holy shit. If you have any type of vendor booth setup, you need to go with GoGo Panels. And I'm not even just saying that. I promise you, I tried everything. I tried tables. I tried the big grates that you guys probably remember. My shit looked like a flea market, right? I go to gogopanels.com, the best customer service. I talked one-on-one with them. They made sure I knew how to do everything, although it's super simple. This is just plug and play. It's like a giant set for children. You just put it in the connectors. There's no screwing. There's no hammering. There's no nothing. And it sets up. There's no stands. And the whole goal of this is to build a store. You want to build a store for people to come into. And I've literally built a store with GoGo Panels. So guys, I know all you guys have companies just like me. If you're doing vending, considering GoGo Panels as your go-to for your vendor setup.
JV team for life.
I can already feel the heat of the fire raging through the house in front of me. I am on the hose. Alan Linear is right behind me. The twins are behind him. Anthony Stornetta is way back, constantly clearing the hose over obstacles as we push forward. As we are inside the archway of the front door, I feel myself baking. Even under oxygen with a mask on, nothing prepares you for the oppressive, sweltering heat that is a house fire. Hot air moves just like ocean water. It finds the slightest crack, the most minute crevice, the tiniest imperfection, and floods it. The heat hit my neck and ears, and I felt it dry my eyes as the seal of my mask was the slightest bit off. Adjusting the mask to fix the problem, I push forward almost at a jog. This is the second time he mentions he pushed forward. I can see the heart of the fire. I watch it licking the ceiling and crawling up the banister. It's beautiful and evil at the same time for it to die. Oh, it's beautiful and evil, and it is time for it to die. I open my hose wide and revel in the hiss of cold water hitting the wood, creating steam, but delivering the first death blow to the blaze. Excitement and adrenaline roll right through me, and I push deeper and faster into the house. Third time he mentions him driving forward, dragging Anthony with me. Every once in a while, a droplet of water, now boiling, hits the back of my neck. It hurts, but I push forward. Number 4.
Did he forget to put his protective gear on? Why is boiling water hitting his neck?
Yeah, I don't.
You go board shorts and a face mask? What are we doing here?
He wore his firefighting polo.
Yeah.
In addition to the hiss of the wood, I also hear a strange popping sound as the water penetrates the wood. There's something incredibly fulfilling about it. Every one of my senses is working overtime. I feel Alan, my team leader, pull on my back. I ignore it. The fire is shrinking rapidly as I pour thousands of gallons of water into this home. I'm not backing out now. I only have to retake the ground, again if we let the fire spread back here. The popping is coming faster and more frequently now. It must be because the wood is even hotter. I drive forward, number 5, into the final room even more aggressively. I watch pieces of wood disappear as my stream of water hits them, reducing the ash they have now become into wet soot. The popping sounds like popcorn at this point. The pulling on my back is more insistent and more urgent. Why is Alan being such a pussy? Let's get this done. I say it until the fire in my quadrant is. I stay with it until the fire in my quadrant is dead. He killed the fire. At some point, the pulling stopped. I'm happy Alan finally found his balls and let me do my job. I keep hitting the burnout walls and floors with water, making sure that they don't reignite. Finally, when I am certain I have done my duty, I begin to walk back. I didn't realize at the time, But as I was backing out, I noticed we moved almost through the entire length of the house. I did even more than I thought. As I looked at all I had conquered, I felt completely vindicated. I beat that fire. When we hit that night air, my neck feels cold, almost frigid, but then I feel a stinging sensation. Maybe I got hit with more water droplets than I thought. It felt like a bad sunburn already. What the fuck was that, Tim? Alan yells at me as he rips his mask and helmet off. Before I can answer, I see him. He looks like shit. Any exposed skin he has is red as fuck. As his helmet comes off, his neck looks like a red ring, almost like he had a choker on it. He rips his gloves and jacket off. They are soaking with near boiling water, and his arms and hands are red. He is pissed. The other guys look equally as pissed. When I tell you to back the fuck off, you need to back the fuck off. You were spraying us with boiling water the whole time because you pushed too hard, too fast, and we already were burned to shit. And we're all burned to shit. And you also almost killed yourself. Look at your fucking mask and helmet, he yelled. I have no idea what he's talking about, but to humor him, I pull off my helmet. As it comes off, my hand bangs against the mask that separates oxygen from fire. Only now do I see what he was trying to tell me inside. My helmet was melting. It was literally on fire, and I had no idea. The edges are melted. It is now an odd shape. Worst of all, though, the 1/4-inch mask shield had melted to less than a millimeter. It was like the top of a perfectly scorched creme brulee. It looked perfectly fine and stable, but the slightest touch and it fell apart. I had no strength at all. It had no strength at all. That popping sound wasn't wood. It was bubbles forming in my helmet and mask that were popping as it melted. Alan was watching my safety gear bubble and disintegrate, and he was trying to save me. If that mask had failed inside, I would have passed out instantly. My face would have been burned. They would have had to drag me out. I would have been a huge fucking liability. For once, I had nothing to say. I loaded my gear into the truck and stripped down to my waist, realizing my whole body was covered in soot. I was written up again. Third strike. I'm out.
When I talked to him about this one, he said, he goes, we didn't have a lot of structure fires. He goes, I remember them all, especially at the short period of time that Tim was here. He goes, he's like, just like the other ones, don't remember it. He's like, I don't remember it. Like that's
Remember Tim's story?
Yeah, because like that's not what happened. He's like, I would have known about that.
Yeah.
So at least he didn't have to dress down his fire chief during this one in his story. So save that. And the overarching theme of this, which is, and I believe he has like character development going on rather than just telling a true story. I believe he has character development happening, and
great writing.
Great. You know what? If this was a fiction, I'm telling you, great fiction book. Yeah. Great fiction.
He could be a writer.
Well, Nick is a writer. That's who wrote it. But
you're right. He's trying to kind of like Tom Cruise in Top Gun. He's trying to be Maverick.
Yeah.
You're dangerous, but he's dangerous because he saves lives.
He's too aggressive. No one is as aggressive as him, and even at a young age, he's just always been that guy. He's always been the man. And anyone who's been around people that are fired and don't understand why they were fired, trust me, everyone that worked with you knew why you were fired. Yeah. Knew that you were dangerous, not dangerous in an aggressive way, and in a way that you're doing things and you don't know what you're doing. It's much different to be, when you're heroic, that means you're taking risks that you understand and you choose to do it anyway. That's what bravery is. Mm-hmm. If you're taking risks that you don't understand, there's no bravery in that. You're stupid. You're just out there making dumb decisions, and then it'll get you fired. And so there's a reason why Tim had a very short firefighting career. And if you think his firefighting career was short, we're going to move over to his law enforcement career,
what career?
Which that is the appropriate question.
And it's like we talked about this earlier. Tim can't just be the UFC Green Beret special forces guy. Like he has to come in and now take first responders roles for them too.
Right.
Like I was a cop for almost 10 years. Like Tim, you weren't a cop. Stop.
Right. Says it at the very beginning of his book. I was an EMT, firefighter, cop. Goes through all of his list of accomplishments. Well, here's the extent of his law enforcement career. He went to the police academy, and according to his book, at some point I just have to question everything at this point. Mm-hmm. He gets into a fight for the right reasons because someone was throwing a rock at him and his friends, and so he runs down the car and he beats the guys up. And the guys that he beats up is a powerful person in the area, and basically hits him with a felony charge. The felony charge eventually gets dropped, but because he had a felony charge on his record, nobody would hire him. So he never worked for a single police department. And so, can you say you were a cop if you never worked for a police department?
No, you can maybe say you were state certified. Like the state blessed you off if an agency was willing to hire you and risk their reputation in training you to become a cop. But I mean, states do that all the time. There's all kinds of police academies you can go to, and they'll tell you like there's no guarantee you're going to get hired, but you can go through the academy if you want.
That's right. There's a lot of people that didn't even put in an application. Are those people cops because they went to the police academy? Drew had a great analogy of it. That's like going to like theological, to going to seminary, never being a pastor, never giving a sermon from the pulpit, and saying, "Yeah, I was a pastor." Just because you went to seminary doesn't make you a pastor.
You learn you learn how to be one,
right.
If you wanted to.
Same thing. You got a certificate that allows you to be one, but if you didn't do the job once, you weren't. So we talk about him being a cop at the very beginning. He was never a cop, and he alludes to that. He's always very gray with his words, and but when he says, my background, first responder, cop, this, that, you were never a cop. So I don't even really have a category for this, or like a section
story
to put this. Yeah, it's just a fun story. Yeah, it's just a fun story. So he was never a cop. So which leads us to the next part of his book, where everything's going wrong in his life. He's fired as a firefighter. He can't become a cop. He thinks he has HIV he has 2 different women pregnant. Like the character's arc is at a low point. And this story in particular always intrigued me, because it's one of the hardest stories to prove or disprove. And I think I'll find a way to disprove it by Tim's own mouth and some other ways. And the story I'm talking about is his dip into the ocean story. And even though Jocko pulled down his podcast, which says a lot, Jocko pulled down his podcast of Tim Kennedy. Thanks to Reddit, I was able to still find it. So let's see what Jocko has to say about this part of Tim's story.
There is not like this linear line of where's depression, where's suicide, where's mental health. What you have here is, an early 20-year-old boy who has made a bunch of bad decisions and he feels hopeless. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go next. And I'm doing something that is very, very dumb and dangerous and could be the end of my life. But I didn't have an intent. I'm not trying to kill myself. There's no cognitive, there's way more efficient ways than swimming out into the ocean. I definitely kept swimming. And that's a big takeaway. That is, not at the end of the book. There's not that adage that's, here's what you should take away from this, is I kept swimming. My balls were essentially up inside of my body as I was frozen to death. And it still doesn't make sense. The Coast Guard said that somebody called
This is pre-dawn. This is pre-cell phone. There's no way that any of the houses along Morro Bay on the north side of the breakers, on the north side of the rock, could have seen me, and there's nobody in the parking lot when I got in the water. So I'm not saying there was like a divine intervention, but it doesn't make any sense how somebody called the Coast Guard station, said they saw a young man take his clothes off and swim into the ocean. You know, as my open water swim time, I get 30-minute mile. So an hour into this, from the time the Coast Guard said.
So just real quick, and we'll overlay it with the book. And this isn't the smoking gun here, but in the book he says an old lady calls. I don't know how he knows that that's an old lady, but let's set some preface here that he'll say a little bit later that will really make this a crazy story. He's already admitted nobody can see him. Like, it make no sense. He'll say later, he'll talk about it was a moonless and starless night. It's before the sun comes up. So, and it's heavy fog. So you tell me if this is before the sun comes up, still dark, moonless, starless, deep fog, no one's up. No one can, he already admits, no one can see you. No one's in the parking lot. So even he admits, this is a crazy story. Yeah, it is a crazy story. Who saw you? And just because you see someone go into the ocean for a swim, who's calling the Coast Guard over that?
Yeah.
Like it's the beginning of it already. How'd they even see you? Fog, moonless, starless. Makes no sense that they can see you. Makes no sense that they would just call the Coast Guard. Why is the old lady's first thought is not to call the police, not to call 911, to call the Coast Guard themselves? I just thought it was odd. I've never thought about calling the Coast Guard when I thought someone was in trouble at the beach.
Yeah.
But that's where it starts. It only gets worse from here.
They got the call to the time that they found me. I'd been swimming for just over an hour. So I'm 2 miles out into the fog, 2 miles out past the rock. And a really cool thing I discovered when I went to the Coast Guard station, and they throw the door open, like, we're listening to Joe Rogan's podcast, listening about this right here. They have a logbook. And one of the most darkest, hardest moments in my life, I'm a single log tag in a date time group, like time, date, captain, boat, remarks. That's it. That's it.
It goes back to only in Tim Kennedy's life does a guy with a knife next door in the same apartment complex, happen. Only in Tim Kennedy's life does he show up to the Coast Guard station and they're watching Joe Rogan and him talk about this exact moment, the exact moment he walks into the Coast Guard station.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And he talks about the logbook that he could physically open and read and go down and see what happened. Well, there is a Coast Guard station at Morro Bay, and they weren't hard to find, and they weren't hard to call. And you know what doesn't have a logbook at the Coast Guard station? Said that weird.
The Coast Guard doesn't have
the Coast Guard. That's right. You got it.
I get it.
They're like, no, we don't. This isn't the 1980s. Things have been digital for a long time. So you're telling me in the mid 2000s, the Coast Guard was relying on a leather bound book of saves that they had on the counter to log their rescues? What? Yeah. So I asked him, I said, how long have you been here? Can you ask someone who's been here a long time? Maybe they converted from the 1800s to the 2000s and went computerized. And they're like, no one here has ever heard of a like physical logbook like that. Like everything's on online. Just another part was like, okay, it's not just another thing. Here's another thing that's crazy. And I'm not saying that he can't. He is a professional athlete. I did triathlons. For him to swim a 25, 30-minute mile for 2 miles for an hour straight and he's in 50-degree water. It's what he said. I looked it up, and he's from there. He knows how cold the water is. For him to be in that water, he says in the book for hours. I'm not going to fall on that sword. He says here an hour. He says in his book in hours. Those are a little bit irrelevant to me. But a naked person with low body fat, 50-degree water, definitely not an ideal situation. We'll just leave it at that. Anyone else who's been in that scenario knows that's
cold.
It's not a recipe for survival, but not hanging my hat on that one. Keep going.
What could have been me dying, what became like a moment where I start to make right decisions, is a single line written in pencil in a logbook in a Coast Guard shop. It's wild. I'm down to that.
It's cool. And that could have been it too.
Yeah, that last remark line, pulled an idiot out of the water was pulled a dead body out of the water.
Yep.
That's it. The only difference.
And, look, divine intervention or whatever. You ever tried to recover a single swimmer at sea on a foggy night 2 miles out in the ocean?
Here's where Jocko's not dumb. Jocko's not dumb. I mean, he's Tim's friend, but Jocko's like, this is crazy. And Jocko's a SEAL. So he knows about foggy waters, recovering people, trying to find alone. Like he's understanding this story and going, hold on. and this is where Jocko actually does a good job throughout this part, asking. He's not questioning the story, which he should be, but you can tell like through that lens is like, okay,
this makes sense.
Yeah, Jocko gets it. Keep going.
Ocean?
Crazy.
That is not like you plan to do that. You got an IR strobe. You have to go white strobe. You have to freaking swing or chem light above your head. Like it's hard. If they had thermal,
they didn't. I mean,
if they didn't have thermal, that's a miracle. Yeah. Honestly. and if you told me, if I got a call that, hey, some idiot got naked and started swimming out to sea, I'd be looking 300 yards out.
Yeah.
Maybe 500 yards out. Maybe 1,000 at the most. There's no way someone's going to be too much. Like, that's crazy that they found you.
Dense fog, so dense.
And he's not picking it
the
up.
South side of the rock where the breakers are in the entrance to Morro Bay. There's a foghorn. I couldn't hear the foghorn.
So Jocko's.
You can hear that.
Jocko's getting it. Yeah. He's like, hold on. If this was a lone SEAL in the middle of an ocean with no IR chem light to break, no visible strobe, no IR strobe, these conditions, he's like, this is an impossible. And he says, you see the word, this is impossible. Yes, you're right, Jocko. This is impossible. Yet, thank you for at least, recognizing that. But Jocko continues to let him go, which I'm glad he did.
That for miles. The fog is so dense, and it was padding sound. I couldn't hear the waves. It does really weird things to light. There is barely any light at this point. No starlight, no moonlight. I've just been swimming for an hour, and when this boat rolls up, I think I'm losing my sanity because I hear like they just have an idle, and it's cruising, and the captain has his feet hanging over the front of the boat, and he's just like sitting there with his feet. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm swimming.
He sounds like the coolest dude ever.
So cool.
He's like making fun of you, right?
Yeah. What are you doing? I'm swimming. No shit. Like even now, even currently, you're like this. Like that was the first indication to him that he was going to take a different approach, I think. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, so what's going on? And I give him a summary of what's happening. And he's just like, yeah, I was thinking about pulling you out of the water, but maybe just stay in the drink. He says this to me.
Okay. And I was like, yeah. All right. There'll be more about this. Let's continue to paint a picture of ridiculousness. Says he finds him. He's been swimming for an hour, finds him in an hour. Let's just go through the motions here for a second. Not that I believe a woman saw him in a moonless, starless night. Not that I believe that a woman called directly to the Coast Guard. You guys understand, and starting to piece this together, the amount of time it would take for that to happen, for the Coast Guard to care enough to put a boat in the water over this, to move a boat over that location and then to find them. It would take hours for this to happen. Even if the boat was there, and even if the boat found them, it would take hours for the boat to do a methodical search to find this person. So it continues to be a miracle that everything lined up, and essentially the boat would have had to drive right to his location for this. The boat would have already been launched and moved right to his location for this to even be feasible. And then you find a guy 2 miles out from shore in 50-degree water. What do you think the Coast Guard's first thing they're doing to this guy is?
Removing him from the water.
Removing him from the water. You damn right. That's exactly what they're going to do. But no, this Coast Guard guy has his feet dangling off the boat during the search.
It's those details.
And then starts a conversation with this guy in the water and wants to continue to let him be in the water for 5 or 10 minutes before you can't have that conversation in the boat. Like you were sent out to rescue this guy, and now you're just going to have a conversation with him. And it's an odd conversation. Let's continue this.
Man, it's cold. It's cold. He's like, I see that. He just makes fun of me. And then he doesn't help me. He throws a cargo net down the side of that ship, and he makes me clamber up the side of that boat with I couldn't use my fingers. I couldn't feel anything. An hour in 50, 52, 53 degree water. Also, like, I had to have kept swimming pretty actively to not be hypothermic. Mm-hmm. You have a minute, of kind of like active use, 10 minutes of use of your fingers, digits, and then an hour is kind of the threshold where you start losing control of your body. And I was at that threshold, and he throws a cargo net over the side of the boat, climb up. I'm not helping you. You did this, you get out. Show me. Show me.
Well, the Coast Guard's dicks.
He didn't say anything besides there's not going to be somebody to do this again. It's all he said. 20-minute boat ride back in. Had to go back all the way around the rock, come back into the bay, and then go to the Coast Guard station, dock. Not a word. Just sat there.
And then what'd they do with you?
Nothing. He asked if I was good. I had to walk from the Coast Guard station back to my car at the rock. It's about a mile.
Did you feel, what were you thinking?
Every step, I was trying to...
Did he give you clothes?
I had a blanket. I had a wool.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You say one of those old Navy wool blankets.
Yeah, it's like green.
Yeah.
And it is, it's sandpaper.
Yeah.
Is that what do they not have real blankets in the Navy?
I don't know what they have now, but.
All right, let's go over this for a second.
Dude.
So he rescues a guy who's essentially suicidal and admittingly suicidal.
On the brink of death.
On the brink of death. Doesn't help him get back up. Makes him climb up a cargo net to get up. I'm pretty sure I was on a dive team. There's easier ways to get on the boat, but this Coast Guard dude's hard if he's real. And takes him back to the Coast Guard station. Does no sort of evaluation on him. Does no sorts of let me feed you, let me help you, let me give you some clothes. Let's just be a normal human here. Let me give you you've had a hard day. Let me give you a ride back to your car. What do? They let him keep the blanket and basically tell him leave, and walks naked, barefoot, a mile back to his car. Doesn't seem like normal protocol to me. Wasn't in the Coast Guard, but that's not where it gets weird. What do I always say about lies, Tyler?
They're hard to keep track of.
So when he's in this podcast, and I believe safe to assume he wasn't ready for those questions, and so he gets off script. When you're on a podcast, usually you give a little less detail than the book, because the book, like I said, the book's hundreds and hundreds of pages. You can tell all the details you want. Podcasts are a limited time frame. We say that all the time. Go to page 97 on his book and read about, and oh, by the way, once that they skip there, but while he's in the boat, like the Coast Guard guy starts making fun of his dick. I don't see a professional military treating a guy that way and then making fun of his dick as well. Like, and it goes back to, he's trying to tell this story, right? And it's an entertaining story, but what he's actually doing, if this was real, was making the Coast Guard look like a bunch of jackasses. If the Coast Guard finds you, they'll make you climb into their own boat. They'll do almost nothing to make you warm. They'll make fun of your dick. And when they get you back to the Coast Guard station, they're going to make you walk naked with a crappy blanket barefoot back to your car. Is that the Coast Guard we have? Because that's the Coast Guard Tim Kennedy just explained.
Yeah.
But what does he say in his book happened?
Do you want me to read the dick part?
No, you don't have to read the dick part. Once he gets in the boat, where does the Coast Guard take him?
He brings me to shore. I get my clothes and I dress. It takes me forever. My arms will not work. He makes sure I get to my car and that it starts, and then he leaves.
What?
Oh, that must have been the other time.
Must be no.
Yeah.
So in his book, he doesn't go back to the Coast Guard station. They take him right back to shore. They drop him off at shore. He gets dressed, goes back to his car, and they wait there the whole time to make sure he's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then they drive off to do more Coast Guard things.
And here's the thing. There's a lie right there. Because he can't fall onto one and go, oh, I was scrambled. He had all the time in the world and the rewrites and the revisions to make sure that this in the book was accurate. He then can't say, well, on Jocko, I misspoke, because he went into detail about the sandpapered felt towel, which again, that is those crazy details that he uses to sell lies. However, he used it to sell a lie that's contradictory to the details of the book.
Right. And you can tell. Like, Jocko, I hope, gets to hear this episode and someone sends it to him, like, they're talking about you. And he has this moment where he even goes, he's going to have two reactions to this. Is, I knew he was lying the whole time because none of it made sense. Or he's going to go, damn, like, I should have known better. Like, all the clues were there. And I was like, that's crazy. But because they're friends, Jocko doesn't expect a good friend of his, which is Tim Kennedy, who he's never had a bad interaction with, would never expect him to come onto his podcast and lie. Like, he wouldn't expect it, but all the clues are there, and he's going to go back and look at this and be like, oh man, all the clues were there and I didn't pick it up. Or maybe he's already done that, and that's why the episodes got taken down.
Yeah. I mean, and that's such that right there, that's really the only thing in this story that is cold proof that that's a lie. But it's such a minute detail. If you read this book, if he was coming on my podcast and I read the book, I'm not going to remember or care. I get my clothes, I dress, it takes me forever. He makes sure I get to my car. You're not going to remember that.
And what's crazy is, during that podcast, Jocko has the book. Jocko read the book and he's asking him questions about the book. So he's hearing his story, and he literally has the book in front of him and he's reading the book. At some point, he's got to look at the ending of the book story and what he just heard and went, oh, that's different.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Let me help you, and we'll go move on to a different story.
JV team for life.
Are you tired of using your standard issue flashlight? I know you're still using it because I was still using mine. But I have good news. We've teamed up with Cloud Defensive, the best in the game when it comes to weapons mounted and handheld lights. Go to clouddefensive.com, put in promo code ANTIHERO15 and get 15% off your entire order. Cloud Defensive, pushing the boundaries in illumination.
Over a century ago in 1910, the Flexner Report, funded by John D. Rockefeller and the Carnegie Foundation, re-engineered medical education from a holistic, whole-body approach, which appropriately treated the body as an interconnected system, to a compartmentalized approach under the guise of specialized medicine. They shut down or consolidated medical schools, marginalized naturopathic, homeopathic, and chiropractic medicine, replacing them with symptom management and synthetic drugs. Allopathy is a marketing strategy rooted in fear and manipulated science. This philosophy carried into veterinary medicine, resulting in over-vaccination, unnecessary surgeries, and manufactured food, just like they did for people. They call it care, but it's predatory and based in profitability. The truth? Toxicity, compromised immunity, and chronic inflammation. They're not fate, they're engineered. And so is your power to undo them. We built 3 targeted formulas to return the body to homeostasis for pets and people, to detox, defend, and restore. We are the correction to decades of corruption. We are vengeance.
And of course, we got to give a shout out to our boys in 09 Holsters, custom built, ruggedized duty gear made in the USA for cops by cops. A Leo and veteran owned small business. They do an upgraded solutions for duty gear, including cases for portable radios, body cameras, tourniquets, and pretty much everything you need to carry on duty. So go to 09holsters.com and use promo code antihero10zulu9. That's antihero10Z9 and get yourself 10% off your order.
JV team for life.
He's again, it's crazy. It's just an absolute I can't call it a lie. But like I said, the Coast Guard station verified that just there is no book. His own words have drastic different stories. And anytime, I'm not talking about minute, that's a thing we can all agree. That's a pretty big difference in the stories. That if I had nothing else to talk about, if we just went right to the end of the story, regardless of any story that ended that different, well, it's a lie.
Yeah.
That's what they do. Moving on, there's a lot of questionable things he talks about, and once we're going to move on to his military career, going into the Army, going to the Q course. There's a lot of controversy about him saying when he joined, when he said he joined, how long it took him. I'm not going to get into specifics of that. He says some weird things in the selection that not a single person VW'd voluntarily withdraw in his selection class because they were so hard. That just can't be true. It's not a selection class that's ever been put on by special forces that didn't have VWs. But this is where the way he talks about his schooling and the Q course is just weird to me. It's a weird flex. And he talks about selection. Go to page 114 and let's see what he has to say about special forces selection.
The cadre hid in the woods trying to catch people that tried to run on the roads, but rather than fear it, I prepared for it. I hid my roster number and moved quickly. When one did see me, they would shout, "Hey, you stop!" and I would take off sprinting. People are fundamentally lazy, so most of them didn't even chase me. The one that did wasn't as fast as I am, and I didn't really want to fight through bramble and thorns. I saved hours by cheating on those roads, as did all my friends.
You and all your friends cheated during selection and even used the words, "I cheated." That's crazy to me. It's so weird that you're going to write in your book, you're a proud cheater of selection, which basically means you weren't good enough to do it the right way, like the rest of us. Besides being a weird flex about openly cheating to get through selection and not doing it the right way with integrity, he gives more like odd lies. Like, so you're telling me, don't get me wrong. Yes, there are people who ran the roads and got away with it for short distances, but there's cadre all over that place looking for cheaters. And if a cadre catches or finds you doing this, you're going to tell me he's just going to give up? That a Green Beret who's there to make sure only other Green Berets get through selection is scared of running through the bush after you? And let's take it another step deeper. You have what he's talking about is land. He's talking about land navigation. And so going from point to point, on a map, finding another point, getting that point, getting another grid coordinate, going to another, point on the map and going back and forth. You do this a lot in selection. And you do it with a 50 to 60 pound rucksack on. Now let's add that on. You're faster than Green Beret cadre at selection, and you have a 50 to 60 pound rucksack on your back, and you can still outrun them. That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, he just, like he does everything else. I was never in the Green Berets, and I know a lot of Green Berets, so it doesn't discredit them in my eyes. But if I was a civilian, I'd be like, man, those Green Berets get lazy once they have the Green Berets.
Yeah.
Those guys don't care about accountability at all.
And he's trying to paint a picture that he basically outsmarted selection. But again, what you really did was show that Green Beret selection is full of a bunch of dummies who can let a new guy completely outsmart them, and that they're too lazy and slow to catch anyone that they do find breaking the rules. What a horrible way to paint a picture of the Special Forces selection process. It's that one as a Green Beret. I mean, that one really gets me. That one works me up a little bit, but we're not done here. Let's go to Robin Sage, which is another course in selection. It's a unconventional warfare portion of it, and let's go to page 127, where Tim Kennedy they do an airborne jump into Robin Sage, and so this is how he kicks off Robin Sage.
They actually call your sixth jump a cherry blast. I'm getting mine at Robin Sage, as is most of my team. Everyone is fired up and ready to go, which is awesome. Well, everyone except the captain. His wife just gave birth, so he got a special permission to miss training, which is fine because officers rarely make things better.
All right. I got to stop him there. There goes bashing officers again. Why does he always have to bash officers? I worked with great officers in Special Forces. But besides that, it's an odd lie, but it goes into another really odd lie, is that his sixth jump happens in Robin Sage. He would have went to airborne school after basic training.
Mm-hmm.
So Robin Sage is probably a year from basic training, because he would have gone to selection, he'd have gone to phase 2, he'd have gone to the 18 Bravo course.
Jump every 90 days.
He'd have had to jump every 90 days. Yeah. The Q course makes you jump.
Yeah.
I jumped several times in Q just for pay. They were always, slick jumps just to keep you on status.
Oh yeah, I guess if people don't know, if you were airborne qualified and on airborne status, you have to jump every 3 months to stay airborne qualified to get that pay.
Right. And if he didn't jump for a year until this starts, you wouldn't have been able to jump into Robin Sage.
Yeah.
And so just that is this isn't your sixth jump, but that's okay. But let's talk about his jump into Robin Sage.
Military jumps are weird. They sound fun, but they never are. You're carrying 120 to 140 pounds of between your legs, so you have to waddle everywhere. They always take forever to load up, and by the time you're jumping, you need to piss so bad you don't care how you get to the ground. And there's also the danger of having so many people in the air at once. Specifically, a static line can hit you in the arm and rip your bicep on the way out if the guy in front of you is lazy. A guy can steal your air by moving below you. You can bounce off the side of the plane if you exit poorly, and of course, your chute might not open. The jump master stands up and gives us the command to stand up. We all do. Then he gives us the command to hook up. We connect our static lines to the wire running the length of the plane and make sure it is secure. If it comes undone, our chute will not get pulled from our backs and it will not deploy. He then opens the door and looks out, visually inspecting the drop zone and the landmarks leading up to it. He has a small window of time to put us out of the plane, so we land in the right spot. 1 minute, he shouts. We echo him. 30 seconds, he shouts. We echo again. Our eyes are now transfixed on the light at the door. It is currently red. It changes to green. Go, he shouts. One after another, we exit the plane. My turn comes, and without hesitation, I step out into the breeze. 1,000, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I feel the pull of the parachute and breathe a sigh of relief. If you get to 4,000, that means your parachute didn't open and you need to pull your reserve. I look up to check to make sure my chute is finally open and there are no issues. Good to go. Now I look around to make sure that there aren't any assholes getting too close to me. Also good. I aim myself in the general direction of where we are trying to land and watch the horizon. It's always beautiful up here. The world feels small and there is no sound but the wind whistling past your ears. There isn't a lot of time to enjoy that. However, as the ground is coming in close and I still have 140 pounds of rucksack between my legs, I will have to drop that about 50 feet before I hit the ground so it separates from me and I don't land on it. I estimate my altitude 200 feet, 100 feet, 50 feet. I release the ruck and I hear it hit the ground. As I prepare for my parachute landing fall, a PLF. PLFs aren't the sexy walk-offs you see in the civilian shoots. You basically keep your feet and knees pressed together and then eat shit. There's a whole skill to it, but it always hurts and you always land like you weigh 1,000 pounds. This time is not any different, but I don't feel any injuries. I disconnect my chute, roll it up, collect my rucksack, unpack my weapon, and start moving to the link-up point. Robin Sage has begun.
So you're airborne.
Mhm.
You know what right sounds like when they write something. He actually does a beautiful job of describing an airborne jump. I mean that's how a jump goes.
Yeah.
I mean, as always, vivid over explanation.
Yeah.
You want to know what's funny?
What?
He didn't jump into Robin's age.
No way, Brent. No way.
It's all a lie.
No.
He didn't jump into
I was
Robin's
reading
age.
it going, he's right. He's right.
Yeah,
This whole
it's right.
paragraph is very vivid.
Yeah. They were supposed to. They had an aircraft problem. They got driven into Robin's age.
Tim Kennedy.
It's just the most weird thing to lie about. It's the most weird thing to lie about. Here's what's even funnier about that. The truth, what actually is a better story. So Tim, I'll help you out from a guy who was on your Robin Sage team. So they had to have a truck take them to their infill point, and then they were supposed to ruck in, and they were supposed to get to their final point.
Mhm.
And the cadre gave the truck driver the infill and the end, and that was of their points. And the truck driver got confused, and instead of dropping them off at the infill point, he dropped them off basically at the end of their route. So everyone in Robin Sage remembers their infill because infill sucks. He's talking about 120-pound rucksack. That is how much your ruck weighs going into Robin Sage.
Yeah.
It's painful, and you walk in all night long. Everyone remembers their Robin Sage infill. It's horrible. It is a crucifix of will. It's the heaviest ruck I've ever probably carried for that distance. And I did a lot. And it's even crazier that they actually missed that opportunity because the truck driver got confused and shortened their route, which is a funny story. Like, you want to tell a funny story? Tell that funny story.
Yeah.
Instead, he talks about jumping into Robin Sage. That never even happened.
God, man, that's crazy.
That is pretty crazy. There's some continuing into his Robin Sage fiasco. Let's go to page 127.
When the week of training nears its end, the cadre show up in the middle of the night to blow us out of our G base and disrupt all of our planning. I'm 100% sure this is their favorite night of the exercise. They have hundreds of artillery simulations and training grenades, and their plan is to surprise us when we are least prepared and just start ruining our world so we have to flee and leave equipment and intelligence behind. They forgot, however, that we are 18 X-rays, are dirty, rotten cheaters. We are not supposed to have cell phones, but we smuggled several in. Plus, we have friends who were hurt and assigned support duty inside the cadre's talk. For some reason, the cadre trusts them. This is super dumb. They have been acquiring information and sending it to us via text message the entire time, so we know that the G-base blowout is coming tonight at 2 a.m.
Once again, super proud of being a cheater. Weird flex. Just a weird flex. Goes on to say, like, we have friends that were like inside the cadre's talk that were hurt or waiting training, and that for some weird reason they trusted him. So Tim, you're telling me you smuggled phones into an exercise, which, hey, they may have. Still a really bad call. Your Green Beret is on the line. Like, this is your last thing before you get a Green Beret.
Mm-hmm.
and that you're willing to bring in a cell phone and chance that, maybe the guy on his Robin Sage team was like during the field exercise, I didn't see any cell phones. Not saying they didn't have them, because I just didn't see them. But now you're telling me this cadre is going to look at the hurt guy in the building and be like, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but we're going to blow your friends out at 2 a.m. out of there with mock artillery rounds. Just wanted you to know that. Okay. And then go on his way. Like, that's what?
And you, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I can't say I wasn't there, obviously. But I can fucking guarantee you that some guy that's waiting to get back into it is not going to ruin his chance.
Oh, that's a good point. Right. Not only are you not going to ruin your chance, that guy who's hoping to get another shot at it, or he's going to ruin his chance too. He's not doing real well if he's in there. And it's crazy. I was like, hey, and these are things you don't forget. If you were part of this team, you're like, hey, like you bring the team in and you're like, even if he doesn't know there's a cell phone, like they're gonna be like, hey, we know the cadre are gonna blow us out tonight, so have your stuff ready. And like we're gonna he says they had all the heavy stuff packed. They even left like fake intel behind. And they were ready for it. Again, they outsmarted the cadre by cheating. I was like, do you remember that? He goes, you're right. I would absolutely, like, it's a pretty special thing to have insight into what's going on. You don't forget that. Mm-hmm. He's like, he goes, I actually don't even remember getting blown out of our G base in Robin Sage. And when he said that, I said, you know what? We got blown out of our base a lot during small unit tactics. He's like, I don't remember getting blown out of our G base. Not saying it's impossible. No one ever gets blown out of their G base. But what I'm questioning is, he's caught here in a weird thing. This is either true, and you're a massive cheater and liar and need to have your tab pulled because you've cheated all along the process of getting your Green Beret, or it's all a fabrication. Mm-hmm. And I
don't know which one's worse.
I don't know which one's worse. I lean towards fabrication because the other guys on your team don't even remember this happening. So
it's like, why you lie about cheating and you lie about killing innocent civilians? Why do you lie about these things? Lie about committing war crimes?
He's lied about committing war crimes. He's lied about killing women and children. So for anyone, if this is the first episode, go back and watch the last one, and you'll understand. If this is the first time you heard this or heard us saying this, you'd be like, well, like, why would he lie? Well, let us show you other reasons that we've proven he's lied about. He's not done with his shenanigans in Robin Sage. Go to page 128.
My favorite moment of the entire course is when we are assigned the final sabotage mission. The cadre give us an operation window to perform the sabotage. They are not supposed to operate outside of that window. The site we are to sabotage is opposing forces, Op 4, base that is off to the side of the path. The cadre pull up to this to observe in their own vehicles, which they parked a few hundred meters away. Their vehicles were strictly off limits. We knew from our guy on the inside when the Op 4 was arriving to man this base, and as such, we ignored the time window and the rules of engagement. The night before, we sneaked into the base that would be hitting tomorrow. We would be hitting tomorrow and siphoned out the gas of the generators, leaving just enough for maybe 10 to 15 minutes tops. We knew they just filled them yesterday and would not be thinking about fuel. When the time actually hits, we aren't dressed as normal. We go in full MacGyver ninja mode. We cover our faces and hands with axle grease and cover our uniforms in charcoal. We're as black as night, and there isn't a lot of illumination from the moon. There we are, completely blacked out, waiting. The Op 4 turned the generators on to light up the night, so we are easy to spot. We see the cadre standing around bullshitting, waiting for the mission to go off. We wait. The time is on our side. The generators start to cough, and one by one, they go dark. We move, but not to hit the Op 4. We move the vehicles. We steal everything that isn't bolted to the ground, and even then, we check the bolts to see if they are loose. We were on the objective for a total of 6 minutes. No one saw or heard any of us. The next morning, the cadre show up, part pissed, part amused. I am wearing a black diamond headlamp that belongs to one of them when they arrive. We would like all of our shit back, including but not limited to my black diamond headlamp, he says, looking at his headlamp on my head, our Sunto watches, a Casio G-Shock watch, our Surefire flashlights, our beef jerky food dip, and the teddy bear that belongs to one of our kids, he finishes with a look of bemused judgment. This will have to be negotiated, my team says to him. Indeed it will, I add, smirking.
Oh, this one's my favorite one, actually. So for people who haven't been to Robin Sage, it is a like at times like low vis, very creative exercise. In order for that to happen, they give you very strict movement time windows because they want to make sure they know when you're gone, when you're here. We've had people killed at Robin Sage. That's a whole long story, but that's true. And so they're very, very definitive about control. You can't have guys with fake guns just moving around. And there's several teams like in this area, you know, they're all working independently, but you can't have just guys with guns, M4s, like rolling around looking like a roving gang and not having some sort of oversight on this. A good way to get kicked out of Robin Sage would be to, I don't know, leave your G base the night before the mission just to go do these shenanigans. This alone would get you kicked out of Robin Sage. Your team leader, the whole team, like your team leader would lose his opportunity at being a Green Beret because this happened under your watch. Like it's so dangerous, one, and so unheard of that anyone would be like, yeah, I'm willing to lose the Green Beret I've worked so hard to get just so we can go F with the cadre. Just right off the bat. You're either wildly retarded and don't deserve the Green Beret, or it's a lie. Part of the things I have to address, charcoal and axle grease. What is this, the Dirty Dozen? Like, what are you doing? How about the face paint you brought to the exercise? You brought face paint. I guarantee you they brought face paint. Why are you putting axle grease on your hands and face? Just use the face paint that's in your 120-pound rucksack. So we'll just go ahead. I'm going to go out on a limb. I wasn't there. We're going to go on a limb, call that lie number one. And instead of messing and doing your job, which is what you're there to do, like the sabotage mission, you're like, all right, we're going to go out the night before, completely unauthorized, but when we go do this, we're not going to do it so we can make our sabotage mission even better. What we're going to do is, as students, we're going to go steal from the cadre. This will be funny.
Yeah.
And the things they steal are G-Shock watches, a Sunto watch. Where do you think their watches were?
On their hands? On their wrists?
You think the watches were pretty important to the cadre at the time because they're looking for hit times, they're looking for exfil times to do the AAR.
Also, Tim doesn't value this, but they probably value their flashlights.
It's at the dark. They steal flashlights. Where do you think their flashlights were?
On
them. Like it's at night. Like so everything they need to be a cadre and to do their job, they left in the truck during hit time, and you stole it from them, including a teddy bear, like one of their kids' teddy bears. And then, let me tell you, these Green Beret cadre, they're not your friends. They're there to make hardened Green Berets. This is during wartime, mind you. Like you know what I mean? There are two wars going on at this time, Afghanistan and Iraq. I went the Q course just a few years before Tim. They were very, very serious about their jobs, because you might go to one of their teams or one of their buddies' teams, and they owe it to their friends to ensure that combat-ready Green Berets make it through this course. They take their job very, very serious. And so instead of doing their job, this sabotage mission, they decided to screw with the cadre, and the cadre is going to come in the next day and be like,
you got us.
All right, guys, you got us. You guys are so smart. You're so good. You're so quick. Just give us back our stuff and we'll be good. And then you can sass them back and be like, that'll have to be negotiated. God, man, and they're good with it. That's one of
He makes it sound like capture the flag in summer camp. That's what he makes it sound like.
Absolutely.
You beat the cadre at summer camp.
Yeah, that's right. That's not what this is. This is a very serious war game that the Green Berets play, and they consider everything as real, as close to real as they can make this. That's why Robin Sage is so great. It's why everyone remembers Robin Sage. It's why Robin Sage is so important. And you're treating this like summer camp, capture the flag, and the cadre find it amusing. Get out of here. I don't say this lightly, but if these are your lies or what you did, either way, you didn't deserve to be a Green Beret. Pull your tab. This is absolutely insane, and they haven't done it yet. And I don't have a lot of confidence that the Army is going to do the right thing. But don't worry, our case for this isn't done. That's just Robin Sage. The last thing he has to do is go to SERE. And so let's talk about his SERE experience. Page 130. And SERE, while you're looking up that, if you want, it's survive, escape, resist, and evade. It's an exercise that all Green Berets have to go to for that type of survival, resistance, evasion training.
We came out here before the course started and buried meals ready to eat. They buried MREs at various places along the course. I hid enough MREs so that our 12-person team should have 2 meals per day. That's a glorious 5,000 calories per man, and it nullifies the purpose of the entire invasion lane. But fuck it. Cheating got us this far, and we are not quitting it now. My goal isn't just to graduate SERE school, but to graduate as the fattest SERE squad in the history of the entire school. When our 12-man group clears the tree line and is no longer visible to the cadre, I plot course to my first hidden bundle of joy under this giant log. We move out at a good clip, and in less than an hour, we are there. I dig out our MREs. I still remember exactly where it was, 251 meters from an intersection at the edge of the drop zone under a fallen tree. 15 years later, I think I could still navigate to that exact spot.
That's so crazy that you either have zero confidence in your abilities, which means you don't deserve to be a Green Beret and to pass this course, or you're just another proud cheater and you're going to bury MREs instead of doing the right thing. So you're either a liar or you have no integrity. Either way, you're backed into a corner. It's not a cool story. It's not a cool story, Tim. Don't put that in your book.
I mean, maybe from a campfire, a beer, and another Green Beret, dude.
Right. Oh, for sure.
But
that's
don't
where
make
those
it
stories.
public.
So I'm not saying stories like this don't exist. But I will say this from talking to a SERE cadre. He was I posed this to a SERE cadre. He goes, well, here's part of the problem with that story. He goes, different teams get different evasion lanes. He goes, and we don't assign teams to their evasion lanes until that part of SERE. Like you get a training block is like the very first week of it, then the evasion block and the POW block. Yeah. He's like, so how would you know your team is in that evasion lane to he's like that makes, he was like, so that makes no sense to me. And it goes, plus I'm a SERE instructor. He goes, that we'll figure out this later. It'd be one thing if you got away with it and no one knew. Let's just pretend somehow you were lucky enough to put it somewhere close enough that you could get to it. Later on in the book, he talks about how they got caught. I don't want to disclose too much, but anyway, it becomes a very big deal in SERE that some cheating has gone on, and they have to see who did it, and they kind of lie their way out of it and get away with it. He goes, here's my bigger problem. If they got caught doing it, like, I would know about it, because that would be a huge story about, that'd be a SERE cadre, like folklore and training thing. And it'd be part of us to go there and make sure that, this never happens again.
Yeah.
So if anyone ever got away with it and didn't get caught, maybe, But to get caught like they did, but they just outsmarted the cadre again and got away with it, it would change the way they did SERE to ensure that there are no loopholes and that this never happens again.
It would be very memorable.
Very memorable. And it'd be memorable to the whole class and for classes after that. Let's go to page. Is it what page number is that?
That was 130.
Let's go to 131.
We avoid capture for the entire 7 days, which is a huge win.
It would be a huge win if you were there for 7 days. SERE evasion's 3 days long. Keep going. So that's a lie. 3 days is what you get.
Once we arrive, they immediately start beating the crap out of us. And you need to understand, while they aren't trying to murder us, this isn't light slapping. They beat you up pretty damn good. As soon as the pain infliction kicks off, guess who starts singing like a motherfucking canary and rats us the fuck out? Mr. Honest Air Force. And I'm going to caveat, the Air Force guy he's talking about was the one that said, hey, Tim, I think this is an integrity violation for the MREs.
So there's absolutely. So there's an Air Force guy on his evasion team. I called as many, well, not as many Green Berets as I could. I caught a lot of Green Berets. So I was like, okay, this is, for starters, SERE school at Camp McCall is very focused. It's there for special forces. It's run by SWIC. It's there for special forces. 98% of the guys that go through during this time were Green Berets and just Green Berets. There's a few people that also get slots to this school, and it's usually like a standby slot. So if they don't fill up the school, they'll make sure some slots are used, and it goes to the 160th. So like the 160th crew chiefs and gunners, like those guys will be able to go to our SERE. I'm not saying like just dogmatically that this didn't happen, but just right off the bat, the chance of an Air Force guy being in your evasion team is 0.00001. Never heard of it. So I don't even know what an Air Force guy is doing in your SERE school. Anyway, but this supposed Air Force guy, let's say somehow this gets through. You're telling me this Air Force guy is the only one with integrity because and according to his story, when he pulls them out, they all start eating. He's like, this isn't right. I'm not doing it. I won't eat. I won't eat your cheating food. So you're telling me out of all these Green Berets, the only person with integrity is the Air Force guy? Get out of here. Yeah. Sounds like the only future Green Beret part of the group was the Air Force guy. Yeah. If he was there. And then he blames him for singing like a canary for having continuous integrity and telling the truth. And it's just, he'll go on to say, that's how the cadre ended up finding out about this, because the Air Force guy tells on him. And now he goes in the book to say, hey, SERE just got real for us because we have to maintain this lie and use these SERE techniques that they just taught us to get away with this real life lie. Talked to other guys that were in that SERE course. I didn't talk to anyone on his SERE evasion team. But other guys, again, if they're all getting hammered for this event, the whole SERE school, like all your Green Beret buddies would have known. They'd be like, oh man, like they're really like, it's a big story. Like it just doesn't go unheard of or unnoticed. And everyone I talked to that SERE class was like, news to me. News to me. Never heard it.
What movie is that from?
So, and I probably spoke too soon because before that I was like, you don't deserve your Green Beret. You haven't. So you cheated in selection, you cheated in Robin Sage, and now you cheated in SERE, and you think you deserve your Green Beret? I'll pull a Jameson Travels. What do you think about that?
What do you think about that?
Leave a comment. That sums up his Q course debacle. I'm going to stay in training, even though this happens after his Iraq deployment. I'm just going to stay in training mode here in a second. We're going to talk about his sniper school experience. This one gets me. Go to page 181, and let's talk about Tim and sniper school. While you're looking at that, another one of Tim's lies. This I can't confirm, but Tim said it. So sure, for whatever reason, I'll give it to you. In his rebuttal, he's like, I never failed sniper school. The only time I failed sniper school was when I failed the shoot-in because I wanted to go get married.
I remember this.
So although we haven't really caught you telling the truth a whole lot, against my better judgment, I'm going to give you that. So that's one time he failed sniper school intentionally. But he omits but that's not the only time you went to sniper school and failed. You went to SODIC after that again, and you failed the very first stress shoot, which is a week into the course. You failed it. You don't just fail. You failed it. You get a retest, and you failed that one too. You always get a retest, and he'll get a retest here in this story, and he failed that too. What's supposed to happen, is when you fail SODIC, you have to sit out a class before coming to another class. They want like a cool down period. Seventh group calls and says, hey, we really want Tim to get, he's a SIF guy. We really want Tim to get into SODIC. Will you bend the rules and allow him to roll into the very next course? Very good friend of mine, who I know this is a true story, was running SODIC at the time, takes this phone call and goes, well, the rule is he has to sit out of class. Those are the rules. And group is like, hey, but we're asking you, will you please let him into the very next course? My buddy, against his better judgment, but he thinks to himself and says, hey, at the end of the day, my job is to produce snipers for the regiment. If they're asking me, like, there's no real reason like he needs to sit out another one other than rules are rules, and other guys had to do it, so he should have done it. He says, all right, I will let him come back to sniper school a third time. But I assure you, I'll let him back in, but he has to earn it. So I will be watching him. Won't do anything. We won't do anything bad to him, but I'm not going to give it to him. Like, I'll let him back in, but he has to pass it. I'm going to be watching. And they said, that's fair. That's a fair deal. He regrets making that deal, but that's how it, so he's back at SODIC now for the third time. Failed it twice. One he admits to, one he doesn't, but I know. And now he's back in SODIC again. Let's pick up this story. Page 181.
In SODIC, you pass or fail as a team, not as an individual. I have the highest individual score in the class.
Lie. Sorry, just blurted out.
Well,
that's a lie. Go ahead.
My partner has the lowest. He's a great guy, but he is absolutely not a natural sniper. Doesn't have the right temperament to train himself to be one, and is dealing with some post-traumatic stress. In 2008, these things are not talked about in the way they are to be later. So he likely is in a very bad place, worrying about some people thinking he is weak, with the additional stress of the schoolhouse stacked on top of that. We walk, crawl, and drag ourselves into position, inch by inch, quietly over a matter of hours. I have an easy shot ahead of me. I can virtually hit this blindfolded. I call the shot, meaning I tell him we're taking it, and as for a read, meaning he estimates the range and reports the wind speed and direction. He takes a moment and gives me the read. I look at him. It's a terrible fucking read. I know it's not completely wrong. The range is long, and he has called the wind in exactly the wrong direction. If I fail to hit the target, we fail. I cannot take the shot without that read. I whisper, hey brother, can you check that again? I think the wind is the wrong direction. His eyes fidget. He looks at the target and looks at me and says, you're right. I'm freaking the fuck out. He stands up and walks away, announcing to the cadre he is quitting sniper school, while simultaneously giving up our position. What in the actual fuck just happened? The cadre are about as shocked as I am, but are also greatly amused, whereas I am not. Looks like you fail. Your partner quit, Kennedy. Hell no, Sergeant, I replied. I'm not quitting. I still have a shot to take. They messed with me for a while, taunting me for running my partner out of the course. I am the last guy left to shoot. When I'm done, everyone gets to go home for the day. Everyone else has passed, and they're all sitting in the bleachers watching and waiting. Finally, given that we are at an impasse, one of the cadre walks off to the bleachers. Does anyone want a spot for Kennedy? There are two caveats. I'm only giving you one round to hit the target, and I get to pick it. Given those conditions, who wants Kennedy's pass-fail to be on your shoulders? I scan the bleachers. I know my chances are not good. Who would want to do that? But I don't wait long. A burly Asian on the far left side stands up immediately. Picture the Batman costume, but Asian. And that's basically Mike Glover. This dude isn't worried at all. He walks over like he's about to choose a salad dressing at the salad bar, not making the decision that will affect whether I pass or fail. What if I put my graduation on the line, Glover? What if I put your graduation on the line, Glover? The sergeant asks. I'm making the same decision, Sergeant, Glover responds.
That's a crazy story. And it's just that. It's a story.
Not true?
No, it's not true. But this is one of those ones. Wait till you find out about this. It's worse than not true. This is a hard one to unpack because unless you've been to sniper school, I'm going to try to do my best job to relay. He does a very confusing job of telling the story. And I'll tell you why. The first thing he says is that's a lie. He goes, sniper school is not an individual event. It's a team event. Nope. Sniper school is an individual event.
I was going to say
it's an absolutely individual event. You stalk by yourself.
The most individual event.
You shoot. I'm not saying you shoot by yourself. You have a spotter, but when you shoot with your spotter, you're the shooter. It's your grade. And then he will have his opportunity to shoot, and then you will spot for him. It is your grade. You don't pass as a team or fail as a team because you're going to different teams. You're not a sniper team that came from an ODA, so you can't have one guy that's worthy of it, another guy that passed because one guy's really good, and then end up having a bad sniper and a good sniper go to two different teams. Like it's insane. Of course it's an individual event. What he's talking about, what he's describing is stalking up to a target, which is called the stalk lane, like your classic, you're in a ghillie suit and you crawl, slow as you can. And undetected, you have to take a shot at a guy that's just sitting there in the field. But the shot is a fake shot. It's a blank because you can't take a real live shot at the guy. What you're really getting graded on is stalking, not your shot.
Yeah.
So for him to say this is a team event, the stalking is an individual event. Now, let me take a step back. Could somehow at some point during any time did they have a team stalk in SODIC? I didn't go to every SODIC class, so maybe they did. But traditionally, it's an individual event, as it should be. I don't even know how you could do it as a team for SODIC.
Mm-hmm.
SODIC is a pretty, I hate to say it, I say like easy course. It's not a physically demanding course. Like no one quits SODIC. Nobody quits SODIC. Why would you quit SODIC? Like you shoot, and if you don't meet the score, it's a little stressful if you feel like you're not doing well, but nobody just quits SODIC. These guys are Green Berets. So I know Marine sniper school is like a rite of passage and they treat them like crap. Maybe someone quits that. This isn't that. You've already done the hard stuff. They're here to make sure you can shoot. So to say this guy is just mentally weak and quits, he doesn't say it in the book, but he does say it in other podcasts. I know the guy he's talking about. The guy's name is Bradley Keys. Go back to the beginning of that and read how flattering and on page 181, how unflattering he talks about Bradley Keys and why he's the best sniper in the school, which is a lie, and that Bradley Keys is the worst sniper in the school. And these are the reasons. Just remind people.
I have the highest individual score in the class. My partner is the lowest. He's a great guy, but he is absolutely not a natural sniper, doesn't have the right temperament to train himself to be one, and is dealing with post-traumatic stress.
What a crappy thing to say about a guy, and then to say that a guy quit. You want to know what happened to Bradley Keys? You think he quit? You think a Green Beret quit sniper school?
It doesn't sound like it.
No, he didn't quit sniper school. He graduated that sniper school. But here's the reason. You want to know what happened when I tried to reach out to Bradley Keys to see what really happened in this story?
Oh, God, don't tell me. The same MO as all of his stories?
What do you think happened to Bradley Keys?
Is he not with us anymore?
He died in a training halo accident.
Oh, man. I mean, how did I guess? I mean, I'm just saying, I went to that because of all of his stories can't be...
Or if there's no rebuttal to it.
Yeah, because the other person can't.
So it gets weirder. So So when he talks about the stalk lane and then having to take this really long shot, I have to explain to you, you can't take an 800-meter shot in the stalk lane because that means you'd be 8 football fields away from your target. If you tried to take a shot that far, you'd fail. They force you to stalk close, within 300 meters usually. That way it forces you to be close to force you to prove that you can move undetected. Mm-hmm. So him saying he's taking an 800-meter shot in the stalking lane is a lie. You would fail it. Him giving a win call during the stalking lane is you wouldn't give a win call in the stalking lane. You shoot a blank. You shoot a blank round so the guys who are looking for you can at least hear it like it's a real shot and see if they can find where you're at. So it's a blank shot. When you're done stalking and if you're lucky enough to not be seen after the blank shot, the cadre comes up and he does a laser rangefinder to see how far away you are from target. And then they move back to the sniper range, the live fire range, and they recreate the shot at the distance that you were. And then that's how you get your shooting score. Mm. So here's where it gets weird. You would think, well, then he just mixed it up and he just fast forwarded it from the stalking lane to the live fire shoot. But you can't do a live fire shoot at 800 meters. You can't do it. You would fail. If that was your recreation shot, it wouldn't be because you'd failed.
Yeah.
So, and then when you really know what happened, it makes more sense. Tim failed the unknown distance shoot, which is where you don't know the distance of the targets. You have to mill it. You have to figure it out. And that is him and Bradley Keys would have done that together. They failed it. And so when you get a reshoot, Tim was the shooter, Tim failed. When you get a reshoot, so you can't blame it on your spotter, they give you another person to shoot with.
Yeah.
And so my buddy who was in charge of the school at the time says they picked Mike Glover to be his spotter because Mike his team was doing really well. He goes, if I remember right, he was like, his team was the best team. So that's how I know Tim wasn't. And Tim, you couldn't have been the best because this is your third time and you're still failing events. So he failed it. They told Mike Glover, hey, you're going to have to be his spotter and you have to redo the whole course of fire. You don't, when you fail and I believe there's 20 targets for that event. You don't just go pick one target.
Yeah.
And right. And the cadre sure as hell doesn't get to pick the target for you. And you go, well, okay, here's the retest. I'm going to give you one bullet. I'm going to pick the farthest one and I'm going to randomly pick a guy. And if you pass, you pass. And if you fail, you're both out. It's just a crazy lie of a story. And there's hints of truth to the story. Yes, Mike Glover helped him pass because he failed. And, and Mike Glover did help him do that. That part is true. Mike didn't raise his hand in some Batman moment. Mike Keys didn't stand up in the middle of the stalk lane and quit. It's just a real embarrassing story, to be honest with you.
Did Mike Keys pass away?
I'm sorry, Bradley Keys.
Bradley Keys. Did he pass away before or after this was written?
Bradley Keys, I've pulled his obituary up here. He died December 13th, 2012. Okay. So way before this. In fact, I knew something was amiss when I went to his obituary, and his military education includes U.S. Army Airborne Warrior Leaders Course, Special Forces Qualification Course, Jump Master Course, Special Forces Advanced Urban Combat Course, Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape, Special Operations Target Interdiction Course. That's what SODIC stands for. Even in his obituary, it says he was a SODIC graduate.
So Tim Kennedy wrote this book and made him sound like that after he had died?
Correct.
God, man.
There's
a low and then there's a low.
That's a tough one. That one really, that's a tough one. And to stay professional, let's move on to Iraq. because that one gets me. He goes on and does his first tour in Iraq. Let's talk about some of the Sephardic stuff. That's also an issue, and I have to explain this to people because Tim uses people's lack of knowledge of special operations to kind of get away with things. He says he went to Sephardic before, and Sephardic is the advanced CQB school that SIF teams have to go to in order for them to operate on SIF teams. Okay. So he's being assigned to a SIF team, but he's not Sephardic qualified. Happens all the time. That's not unusual.
Yeah.
So the SIF team was covering down on South America. That's what 7th Group does. Well, they're there in case of an emergency, and strategically, they don't want to let the SIF leave. That's why this is 2006 Iraq, and the SIF team hasn't been to combat yet. They haven't been to combat yet, and it's one of the most lethal teams 7th Group has because they're tied to South America, so they can't chance something going wrong in South America and the SIF team not be there.
Yeah.
They're very tied into a region.
Okay.
So the plan was, hey, let's get these guys combat experience. And so what they did was, we're going to take another SF company and we're going to put the whole company through Sephardic, and we're going to get them, I'll put this in quotation marks, qualified. So that way, when the real SIF company goes to Iraq, the fill-in SIF company can maintain the same capabilities while they're gone. That was the deal that was bartered. But here's the problem. Sephardic has an attrition. Like, not everyone passes Sephardic. So they couldn't chance half the company not making it, not having enough people to do the mission. Mm-hmm. So what they did was they did an ungraded Sephardic, and they shortened it. So they shortened it, and basically no one failed. So it was more of like a certificate of completion than it was a certificate of graduation. So that's what Tim went to. And what that meant was, because he wasn't Sephardic qualified, true Sephardic qualified, when he goes to Iraq, he's not allowed, his team, John McPhee doesn't even let him in the house. He can't assault a single target. Does he go on target? Yes, but he's a blocking position. He stays outside the building and protects the guy's back while the men go in there and clear the rest of the building. And when it's clear, Tim is allowed to come in the building once the men clear the building. That's a little bit of a boring story to some people. That'll clear up some other things to some vets. That's a really important part, because there's a lot of stories he tells that he could not have done because he was not an assaulter. He was not qualified to be an assaulter.
Well, how that's impossible, because the next chapter in his book, he talks about he hunted Zarqawi.
Yeah. From the outside of buildings, he hunted Zarqawi. So hopefully he met him in the street.
Having anybody that was working for the American government, Zarqawi's having his henchmen, they'd drill their hands to the wall, they'd cut off their eyelids, and then they'd rape their family in front of them before they killed them. And you'd walk in, you'd find this raped and murdered family with this dude's hands drilled to the wall. Like, this is fucking peak war.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
You walked in on that.
We found every kind of imaginable horror that
You could tell he lied right there, because he wasn't ready for that question.
He wasn't ready for that question.
Had to think about the answer.
Hey, I love giving Shawn Ryan credit. We're hard on him every now and again. Great question, Shawn. Like, hold on, you saw that? Because that's a crazy story. Like, it was more than Shawn could fathom. And he's like, yeah, I saw that. And he presses him again about that. Keep going.
Terrorists do to civilians, we found.
Let's rewind. I want to go right into that. First time you saw that, what is the op? Just everything from the insertion to walking in that room.
Yeah. It's funny, full circle. I was in Israel just this recent October, and we're in some of the.
All right. real quick. So he is not ready for this. It wasn't in the book. So this isn't rehearsed.
Yeah.
So when he's asked to go into details about it, what's the first story he tells? I was in Israel. Watch this stalling tactic that he uses when Shawn catches him completely by surprise by asking him to drill down on this lie. Go ahead.
Which is adjacent to Gaza, and seeing the same things that I saw back 18, 17 years earlier in Iraq. The inhumane, barbaric things that these radical extremists do are just inhuman. And I think that's the point, is they want to show that anybody that does anything to support not Sharia law, not these radical ideas, isn't human, right? They're infidels, so they can do anything they want to them.
Think about it.
This is God, what month is this? This is early 2006.
Didn't ask you what month it was.
We are going to what we thought was a VBIED target, and Al Oliveira was like the point guy, and we do a call out initially. So you set up like an L-shaped ambush on the outside of the house, and this was early tactics of for 2005, 2006. Not a lot of only special operations units were still. Combat arms were still doing hard knocks.
Anything but the story.
There's no.
He's going Kamala Harris on us.
Yeah, anything but the story.
Word salad.
Dynamic entries. We're doing as deliberate as we possibly can after some houses get blown up and there's booby traps and bombs. So we're trying to do call outs. And we're doing a call out of a target. And when we finally go to assault and clear the building, as we come in through the front door and you find a couple of kids that had been raped and murdered, your brain doesn't process it. You know, you can't.
I can't remember.
Not that you're planning what you're going to see, but the last thing you plan on seeing is, dead kids in a corner. And I have a really good memory, and I journaled the whole entire time that I was deployed and all my deployments.
Okay. Okay.
So he's able to use like he's dealing with it, telling the story, like the pauses. If you told a story like that, he's able to use to. So
that one's a crazy one to me, right? I try not to insert like too much about my own past about this, other than experience. But the truth is, I've been to all three combat theaters multiple times: Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. I've seen a lot, and if I didn't see it, I know someone who saw something crazy. And so I haven't heard a lot of new stories, and when I heard that, I was like, I've never heard that. That's a crazy story. I've never seen that. None of my friends have ever seen anything like that. I mean, that's straight out of the movies. And I'm not saying that they haven't done terrible things, but for whatever reason, we just that's crazy to stumble upon that. So that was one of the things I wanted to ask his teammate. And I was like, I got to ask you this. Did this happen? I read through it. He's like, same thing as it always. Sigh. No, that never happened. Gosh, that never happened. I was like, is there a story close to that that maybe he's exaggerating? Yeah. He's like, nothing like that ever happened on target. He goes, I'm reaching here. Yes, we had an interpreter that got tortured and killed when he went on leave. I've heard those stories before. They happen. He's like, and maybe he took that tortured story and brought it into a mission. I was like, I mean, I get it. I asked you to try to connect it, but I'm not. That's crazy. But it's what he does. He tells these bombastic stories as truth to try to convey the message. What he's really just trying to tell you is how evil Al-Qaeda was, and how evil Zarqawi was. there's plenty of real stories that you could use to convey that are the truth, but he has to convey
he wasn't there.
But he wasn't there. Yeah. And he also talks about like they were clearing the house. You weren't clearing the house, Tim. You weren't so far to qualified.
Yeah.
So even if this did happen, you didn't see it. They would have had to come out from the house and tell you about it.
Yep.
But the guys that went in the house never saw it because this never happened.
Because this never happened.
I don't think so. So let's move on his first kill. 144.50.
Do a dynamic entry of a house, and as we're approaching the front door is opened, and a man is standing. A military-aged man is standing there. There is an AK on the other side of. So there's a T intersection of a hallway that is from the main entry of the room. I'm stacked on the right-hand side behind Al.
All right, pause real quick.
He and I are on the right-hand side.
It's just weird to me because maybe you can hear it or conceptualize it different. Opens the door to a T intersection hallway. Like what door to a house goes into and there's a T intersection hallway? And again, like there's like that's not like glaring. It's just an odd thing to me, and I was just like, that's okay. All right, we'll keep going.
Inside the stack, the other side of the stack is on the left, and we're kind of like have cross coverage inside of this door. So like once the number one man goes, you kind of just follow, taking opposing directions. And from the right hand side of the door, we could see the gun and we could see the guy. From the left hand side of the door, you could only see the guy, but you couldn't see the gun. So Al and the translator, they're yelling to this guy to get on the ground, get on the ground, get on the ground. And the guy goes to grab the gun, and the right stack shoots him. And military-age man on target as he's trying to grab a weapon, and he literally falls on top of the gun.
Sure. Let's read. So they're split stack on the door. 2 on the right, 2 on the left. The 2 guys on the right can see him and the gun. The 2 guys on the left can only see the guy. Okay? That's what he says in this. Just put a pause in that for a second. And now go to the book, page 147 to 148.
The 4 of us walked to the front door as Dave Fredericks, Ben Rios, Mario Montes, and Manny Villalobos.
And real quick, I'm pretty sure they don't appreciate their names being used in the book.
First and last.
Yeah.
Moved to the back door through the sheep's pen. The rest of the guys are either hitting the other buildings or covering the windows of ours in case the guys try to squirt out. We're set. The number 1 man, Al, pulls the door open, and I, as the 2 man, throw a flashbang. John, as the 3 man, covers the doorway with his rifle, and in case someone tries to take a shot at me or Al as we do our jobs. Bam! The flashbang goes off, and we flow into the room, one behind the other. We see a guy sprint past the door. Our terp yells
Hold on. In the Shawn Ryan show, they were split stack on the door, and they were calling him to stop, and they shot him from the doorway. Now they're inside the house. They flowed in the house now.
It's hard for him to keep track, Brent.
Okay, well that's different. Okay, but go ahead. So now
our terp yells. Our terp yells for the guy to get on the ground over and over again. The guy is not going to the ground. He is defiant. My red dot is on his chest, as are Al's and John's. He takes a breath and makes an athletic movement away from us. I hear Al switch his weapon from safe to semi. It's such a small sound, the tiny click of metal on metal, but all veterans know what that sound means. Go time. You can always hear it through flashbangs, through grenades, through artillery. That little click engages the mechanism in your brain that tells you this event is now real. My eyes see where this man is going, and my brain slowly passes that message to my body. He grabs an AK-47 and starts to spin it towards us. Somewhere between the time he grabs for the gun and the time he turns toward us with it, I move my weapon to semi, as does John. By the time the man's gun gets 2/3 around a half circle from where he grabbed it to where it's pointing at Al, Al squeezes off 1 to 2 rounds. Milliseconds later, I double tap the guy. John shoots at almost the same time I do, also double tapping. The guy falls to the ground lifeless. There are 5, maybe 6 holes stacked on top of each other through his heart. To be honest, if you don't look carefully, it looks like one bullet wound. I just killed for the first time, though I think Al's rounds get the actual credit. But at that moment, I'm actually impressed on how good we are.
Good news, Tim. You don't have to worry about that. It wasn't your first kill because you weren't in the house.
Oh, man.
I mean, I don't know how else to say that, you know? So let's go back for a second. In the interview, they were outside the house, split stack. One stack could see them, him and the gun. One could only see him. He makes a movement for the gun, and they mow him down, and he falls on the gun. Is that what he said on Shawn? Is that what he said on Shawn Ryan? And this, they're inside the house, and they wait all the way until he picks up the gun, and he's turning around, and then gets mowed down. Those are 2 different stories. And it's not like, here's another thing. The split stack thing is just as crazy because for 3 guys to shoot him, he says like me, John, and I can't remember the third guy's name, basically stack bullets. It looks like one bullet hole. If you're outside the building, you ever try to get 3 guys outside of a door shooting into one door? In kit?
Yeah.
That's large men? That ain't happening. So, no, not happening. I can pick this apart 17 different ways, but I don't think I have to, because the only thing I have to say is it didn't happen this way because Tim wasn't allowed to be on the assault. He wasn't Sephardic qualified. What he did was steal a story. This story absolutely happened, and there was a 15-6 investigation about it. The problem is, you are allowed to have an AK-47 in Iraq. You could have one personal, like, home protection weapon. And I don't want to get in the details about it, but and what really happened, because I don't know. Only the team knows. But a 15-6 happened, and what they were upset about was
what's
like,
a 15-6?
It's an investigation. It's a formal investigation that's probably happening to Tim right now. And what they're saying is, well, if he's allowed to have that weapon, if he didn't reach for that weapon, like, he's good. And so they were trying to figure out, was it a weapon he was supposed to have? Was it a justified kill that he was moving with intent? Like, things like that. So the 15-6 happened, and this story happened. Just wasn't your first kill, Tim, and you weren't there, or you weren't close to there. But the next one, which is don't worry, it gets crazier from there. The night Zarqawi dies is an epic night in Tim's mind. Let's go to 158 to 159.
We roll out with all the ammo that we can possibly pack on the trucks. We are not going out for just any mission. In the words of William Wallace from the movie Braveheart, we're going to pick a fight. And we do, all of us, all night. The more fights we get in, the more Al-Qaeda resources are leveraged to try and save these assholes, and the more bad guys come out of the woodwork. It's awesome. Target 1 is a letdown. It's a giant house in downtown Baghdad that looks like it's going to be packed to the gills with baddies. We're approaching it to the I know what that word is.
Surreptitious?
Surreptitious.
Yep.
To do a surreptitious entry because we believe there is a 30% chance he is here. So we're all blacked out, silent, moving under night vision, throwing ladders over walls, and even ninja crawling up to this bad boy. Then we hit it all at once and find nothing. No furniture, no people, completely fucking empty. No worries, though, because we still had 5 other named targets to hit. CAG had more luck in their first hit, and the radio was hopping. Everyone was on the net. Company Commander Major Jimmy Hester and Sergeant Major Oquendo are even out that night. Things are happening so fast and reported so quickly, it sounds like they are speaking in tongues on the net. On targets, our targets keep changing throughout the night. ICTF gets intel from the interrogation that this other house is a high priority. So CAG flexes to that house, and we flex to the target CAG was going to hit. To this day, that night is still one of the wildest nights of my life. It is like the world's most dangerous 4th of July. Everyone is shooting. We even hear a Bradley fighting vehicle kicking off with the main 25mm cannon. The targets are all close enough to hear, and even the rounds hitting the buildings. All of Baghdad is being lit up. For the rest of the night, we are in nonstop gunfight. I have no idea how many times I've reloaded my rifle. I have no idea how many times I refreshed all of my mags from the go bags I pre-packed before the mission. I have no idea how many men we killed that night. I just didn't have time to think about it.
Good news, Tim. I can help with your memory. You changed mags 0 time that night. You went to your go bag for extra mags 0 times that night, and you killed 0 people that night. So let me help put a number to it. Just like when he's like, what he say? I have countless deployments. I can put a number to that too. 1 Afghanistan, 1 to Iraq. He just has a problem with large numbers. But don't worry, we're here to help.
I just know the sound it makes when it kills a man.
The thought that was a massive like type of operation that night, and just things were going like he's trying to replay. This wasn't Black Hawk Down. There was a bomb dropped on Zarqawi. CAG went out there to do a BDA on it and came back. It was that was how Zarqawi died. It's well documented how Zarqawi died. You want to know where Tim was when Zarqawi died?
Where?
At the base. Didn't even leave the wire. Dual source reported from teammates and other SIF guys. And here's a quote. I asked him specifically if they were out that night as part of the op, or maybe even on a different objective. He said no. All we did was have QRF ready and an assault force ready in case things popped off. And when they announced they had PID'd and were going to drop, the squadron went out and recovered the body. We were just QRF and a ready force, but never left the wire that night.
That's from Tim's mouth?
No, that's not. That's from a 7th group SIF guy's mouth. So, and that's the second time that I heard that. So it's not just one guy told me. I mean, it'd be pretty wild to be that wrong, but that's the same story someone else told me. So that's why I can be so over the top with how many guys he killed that night and how many times he reloaded his mag. That's how I know the exact number. Yeah. The exact number is 0. This episode's been long enough. We haven't even gotten to the Afghan evacuation, which I intended to. It was 3 hours of lies, and that's what it was. I've tried to maintain what we always want to do, which is be professional, calling people out, holding people accountable, but being professional about it. I would almost say this episode is even more important because it continues to show, hey, it's not just what we uncovered the first time. It's so much more.
Everything.
It's a career-long and lifelong of embellishment and lies. And the Maryland National Guard is doing an investigation right now to say, hey, what are we going to do with this guy? SWCC, who has the power of pulling tabs, better be doing an investigation right now of what are we going to do about this guy. The Army better be doing an investigation right now because everyone knows it's been all over the news. And now we're here to give you the evacuation, and we'll get into that next week, that it has ties to the military. You can't be a Green Beret, a current Green Beret of the National Guard, and willingly and purposely bypass military checkpoints because you deem who gets to come in this base and who doesn't. So that still has weight to that investigation, but we're uncovering more lies and more integrity violations from a guy who's supposed to be the spokesman for the National Guard. He's used as a spokesman for Special Forces. Is this your spokesman? United States Army, SWCC, Maryland National Guard. Is this your spokesman? Is this guy worthy of putting a Green Beret on his head? Is he worthy of putting a long tab on his shoulder? SWCC, how can you punish anyone right now who's done anything wrong when you have this guy that's done as much damage to our reputation as Green Berets as he's done? How can you punish any Green Beret right now as long as this guy goes unpunished? Sure. If I was under any sort of investigation of SWCC or getting a DUI, I'd be like, whoa, don't worry about that. This guy's done all of this, and and he's gone unchecked. So how could you punish me?
Yeah.
Like it's insane. And I mean this, and guess what? I don't have to do the Afghanistan evacuation. I don't. The same thing still applies. Tim, we can continue doing this dance. You can come clean. You can come clean about everything we've covered now in 2 podcasts. You can come clean about the Afghan evacuation before we cover it. You can actually apologize about things before you get put into a corner. Come completely clean, and people will forget this. People will accept you. It doesn't have to be this way. It really doesn't.
You got a week to do it though.
But it does have to be this way if nothing changes. If nothing changes, we have an obligation to continue pressing as long as there's things that need to be said, and there's been no change of heart and no change of course over it.
We'll
And
pay for
I
your
believe
plane
that.
ticket.